Yo, Atlas speaking and welcome to part 6 of What If I Was Reborn in the Naruto world as Obito Uchiha with the Universal Gamer System. Let the tale begin. Chapter 101, Fireworks Under the Moonlight. Obito used Camel to return to Konoha. His heart was still pounding from the close call. Man, that was close. One wrong move, and I'd be splattered across some meteor. But then his thoughts drifted. Specifically, to what he'd just seen Konan changing into a fresh pair of stockings in her office. He smirked, his cheeks slightly flushed. Well, I'd say this trip wasn't wasted. Those legs, not legs, more like the elixir of life in a thermos of wolfberries. His expression turned wistful. Ah, now I'm thinking about Kin again. The feel of those white stockings last time. Smack! Obito slapped himself, snapping out of it. Obito, what the hell are you doing? Konoha still needs rebuilding. The ninja world needs saving. And here you are dash. He paused, suddenly tempted. Star. Maybe I should visit Rin tonight? Such is life. It grinds down the sharp edges of people, only to turn them into, well, perverts. After returning from Amigakure, Obito had everything prepared. This Saturday, under the full moon, as the clock struck midnight, he would end Danzo's miserable life. Why does that sound like a Phantom Thief's announcement? Lost in thought in the ANBU headquarters, Obito spotted a familiar figure. Hey, Kakashi! Obito called out. Kakashi stopped in his tracks, turning with an exasperated look. He walked over and said in a low voice, Obito, how many times have I told you? Don't use my name so casually in the ANBU. Obito scratched his head sheepishly. What did you just call me? Kakashi. Seeing Kakashi at a loss for words, Obito smirked and pressed further. And anyway, with that silver hair of yours, even the ANBU in other villages would recognize you. Kakashi. With a sigh, Kakashi punched Obito lightly on the shoulder. What do you want, you idiot? Obito rolled his eyes. Can't I just want to see you? It's been a while. I was curious how you've been doing. Kakashi glanced at the clock. There was still time before his mission, so he slung an arm around Obito's shoulder and led him to the lounge. The two removed their masks and chatted for a while. So, how's that new lightning technique coming along? Did the advice I gave you help? Obito asked. Previously, Obito had shared knowledge about Purple Lightning Jutsu from Boruto's era that Kakashi could potentially develop. Purple Lightning, a new lightning release jutsu developed by Kakashi, it doesn't rely on the Sharingan or require hand signs to activate. Whether it was useful or even feasible, Obito wasn't sure. After all, it came from Boruto, so, yeah. Kakashi's eyes lit up with excitement. It worked! I think I'm close to creating a perfected lightning release jutsu. Obito nodded thoughtfully. Maybe Boruto wasn't entirely useless after all. What about you? What have you been up to lately? I barely see you anymore, even during breaks, Obito asked. Kakashi sighed, his expression one of utter defeat. I've been babysitting Minato-sensei's kid. It turned out Minato was buried in work at the Hokage office, leaving young Naruto's daily drop-offs and pickups to Kakashi. Naruto, being the little troublemaker he was, made sure Kakashi's life was anything but easy. Obito chuckled at Kakashi's disgruntled face and tried to console him. Think of it as practice for when you have kids someday. Kakashi shook his head firmly, his voice resolute. Not happening. I'm never having kids. Actually, forget that I am never getting a girlfriend. Wise men stay out of the river of love, drowning is on them, Kakashi declared sagely. Obito frowned. This wouldn't do. If things went on like this, Kakashi was destined to live and die alone. He had to intervene. You can't just study theory all day. Without hands-on experience, you'll never know true happiness. He patted Kakashi's shoulder meaningfully and stood up. Anyway, I'm off to pick up Rin from work. She's still in uniform. Heh heh. Kakashi watched Obito leave, deep in thought. 100 times better? Could it really be that good? Saturday night arrived. Obito donned a black cloak and a yellow mask. He glanced at the full moon hanging in the sky, his body exuding an ominous killing intent. A moonlit night, the perfect time for murder and arson. Shimura Danzo, your time is up. In the next moment, Obito vanished from sight. He had carefully chosen this night after months of planning. First, Minato Sensei was out of the village on an important mission. Second, half of the ANBU were occupied with a secret operation elsewhere. And third, Hiruzen, the third Hokage, reserved Saturday nights to spend time with his family. All these factors combined made tonight the perfect opportunity to act with minimal risk of exposure. Obito reappeared silently within the root base, slipping like a phantom into Danzo's quarters. Though it was late, Danzo was still seated at his desk, poring over documents. We need to increase the village's military budget. If not, in 10 years, Kumogakure will surpass us. Obito stood in the shadows, watching Danzo with a complicated expression. This man genuinely seemed to care about Konoha's future. But his methods, they only brought ruin. HM? Who's there? Danzo's instincts, honed through decades of battle, flared up as he sensed something amiss. He turned, only to see a figure cloaked in black and a flying explosive tag. Danzo's initial shock gave way to disdain. A single explosive tag? Is that all Osher dash? Before he could finish, a vortex appeared, spilling out a torrent of explosive tags. They rained down like a storm, carpeting the room. Danzo's face turned green. Boom! 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 A series of deafening explosions rocked the entire base, flames engulfing the room. Obito clapped his hands in satisfaction, watching the destruction. It's been a while since I've played with fireworks. What a treat! Chapter 102, Sending Off Danzo. Boom! 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 The commotion from Root's headquarters instantly alarmed the entire village. The deafening explosions reverberated for miles, echoing through the stillness of the night. One by one, lamps flickered on throughout Konoha. The village's security forces, shaken by the disturbance, sprang into action. Something's wrong. Quickly, go check what happened. Emergency assembly. Sound the alarm. Combat units, report immediately. Asterisk communications team, contact all nearby squads. Recall every available shinobi. Meanwhile, chaos engulfed the Root headquarters. What's going on? Is this an enemy attack? Damn it! That's Danzo's quarters. Protect Danzo-sama at all costs. Root shinobi surged toward Danzo's chambers, panic written across their faces. Wind style, great breakthrough. Water style, surging waves. One after another, they unleashed their jutsu in a desperate attempt to contain the destruction. But faced with tens of thousands of explosive tags, their efforts were nothing but a drop in the ocean. As the flames raged on, they stood helpless, watching Danzo's quarters engulfed in fire. What do we do? I'm going in to save Danzo-sama. One reckless shinobi charged into the inferno, only to be obliterated in an instant. Another Root member stood paralyzed, murmuring in despair, Root is finished. No, Konoha is finished. The heavens are punishing us. At the epicenter of the explosion, a masked figure spoke in a low, mocking voice. It should be done roasting by now. Obito's Sharingan glinted as he stared at the charred remains of Danzo, who lay motionless before him. He reached out, transporting Danzo's seemingly lifeless body into the camel dimension. The moment they arrived, Danzo's body suddenly sprang to life. With practiced precision, his hand shot toward Obito's eyes. But Obito, as if expecting this, caught Danzo's hand with ease. Obito chuckled derisively. So, Danzo, stealing eyes is a hobby of yours, isn't it? Danzo's expression darkened. Seeing the mockery in Obito's gaze, He hesitated, then asked, "You knew I was feigning death?" Obito shrugged and pushed Danzo back with a single strike. Of course. Izanagi is, after all, an Uchiha exclusive technique. Did you really think I'd fall for it? Obito gestured toward the aftermath of the explosion. The fireworks, those explosive tags, weren't just for show. 1. They covered my tracks. And 2. They were meant to strip you of any remaining defenses. The truth was, the barrage of explosive tags could have easily ended Danzo. After all, his arm wasn't yet brimming with Sharingan-infused Hashirama cells. Currently, Danzo possessed only a few Hashirama cells and 2 or 3 Sharingan at most, far from the monstrous enhancements of the future. But Obito, out of respect for Danzo's infamy, and adhering to his own villainous tendency to monologue, had chosen to draw things out. Now, with Danzo's trump cards depleted, Obito decided it was time to finish the job. Danzo's eyes flashed with malice. Though Izanagi had saved his life, he was gravely injured. He realized that the enemy's overconfidence left him little hope for survival. For a moment, Danzo stared at Obito, then muttered bitterly, "The accursed Uchiha. Your clan's wickedness will bring ruin upon you all." Obito tilted his head, as if considering the words, before smirking. "Not bad, old man. You've got the prophet act down. Too bad tonight's prophet's getting axed." Danzo, 777. Even someone as hardened as Danzo found himself momentarily baffled. What's wrong with this Uchiha? Enough chatter. Time to end this. Obito stepped forward. I, Uchiha Madara, will send you off. Danzo's eyes widened in shock. Uchiha Madara? Could it be? No, it didn't matter whether this was Madara himself or a successor to his will. Either way, this man posed a grave threat to Konoha and the entire shinobi world. Danzo's expression hardened with resolve. He made his decision. For the sake of the shinobi world, and Konoha, you cannot be allowed to live. Tearing open his robe, Danzo unleashed a surge of blood that turned inky black as it spilled into the air, forming an ominous seal. Reverse 4 symbol sealing. "Oh, hell no!" Obito exclaimed. Without hesitation, he activated Kamet and vanished from the dimension. Inside the camel space, Danzo's consciousness began to fade. "Hiruzen," he murmured. "I failed to become Hokage in the end. You knew my ambitions, yet you chose to pass the title to a younger generation. Do you understand my disappointment? I chased that dream my entire life, but I was never able to surpass you." Danzo's voice grew weaker, eventually swallowed by the inky blackness. His body was consumed entirely, leaving nothing behind. And with that, a once legendary figure met his end, his final seal achieving nothing but emptiness. A moment later, Obito reappeared, cautiously patting his chest. "That was close. That reverse 4 symbol sealing is no joke. An S-rank jutsu like that could wipe out everything within 100 meters. He sighed and shook his head. "Wanted to leave you intact, but oh well." Glancing at his surroundings, he muttered, "Time to toss those range shinobi out. That should set the stage nicely." Earlier, Obito had captured a handful of rogue range shinobi loyal to Hanzo. They'd been a thorn in the side of the Akatsuki, constantly plotting to overthrow Nagato's rule. Perfect scapegoats, Obito said, dragging their unconscious bodies into the scene of the carnage. After ensuring they were convincingly charred by the remaining explosive tags, he vanished again. 5 minutes earlier, Hiruzen Sarutobi was jolted awake by the explosions. Springing from his bed, he donned his black combat gear and rushed out of his home in less than a minute. When he saw the direction of the explosions, his face darkened. "Root!" Danzo. Bounding through the village like a monkey, he raced toward the scene, muttering under his breath, "Old friend, please, please be safe." At this moment, his heart was gripped with dread. Chapter 103, on the development of the Uchiha. When the third Hokage arrived at the Root headquarters, the explosions had already ceased, leaving only thick smoke billowing into the sky. The once luxurious root base now lay half in ruins, scorched and battered by the blaze. Charred debris painted a scene of utter devastation, and Hiruzen Sarutobi's heart sank at the sight. The most heavily damaged area of the collapse was precisely where his old friend Danzo would have been. Danzo. Around the perimeter, 20 or 30 members of the Umbu had already gathered. Every available Umbu within Konoha had been summoned. Among the crowd, Obito Uchiha, now in freshly donned Umbu gear, blended seamlessly with the others. The true culprit was among them. Following the third Hokage's orders, the Umbu were split into two groups. One group was tasked with patrolling the surroundings to search for any potential attackers who might have escaped. The other group, which included Obito, accompanied the Hokage into the ruins to investigate the incident. Obito felt a flicker of excitement at being part of the investigation. The thrill of boldly returning to the scene of the crime, masquerading as an enforcer of justice, was exhilarating. As the group advanced into the depths of the route headquarters, the lead scouting team soon returned to report to Hiruzen. Third Sama, the area is secure. The danger has been neutralized. Upon hearing this, Sarutobi quickened his pace, his strides decisive and urgent. Before long, he arrived at a grim scene, root members huddled together, their faces pale with despair, and the remnants of what had once been Danzo's office a pile of rubble barely recognizable as a building. What happened here? Hiruzen's voice was low and heavy, brimming with restrained fury. In the crowd, Obito couldn't help but smirk inwardly. Looks like the bond between the third and Danzo runs pretty deep. If he knew it was me who took Danzo out, would he dare? Nah, he'd just end up getting pinned to the ground. A grieving root member stepped forward and reported it was a deliberate, suicidal attack targeting Danzo-sama. From our estimates, the assailant used at least 10,000 explosive tags. Danzo-sama's fate is currently unknown, no remains of his body have been found at the site. Hiruzen's expression flickered with a glimmer of hope. Could it mean Danzo might have been taken alive? He gestured to a team of Umbu skilled in forensic investigation. They immediately began combing through the wreckage. Before long, one of the Umbu returned to report. Third Sama, based on the traces we've uncovered, we have a preliminary hypothesis. The attackers were most likely ninja from Amigakure, specifically, from before it was rebranded as Akatsuki's Hidden Village. Although Amigakure had officially renamed itself to align with the Akatsuki, the people of Konoha still habitually referred to it by its original name. Hence, the Umbu was careful to clarify. Hiruzen's face darkened further. Ninja from Amigakure infiltrated Konoha undetected, broke through the heavily guarded route headquarters, and abducted one of our high-ranking ninja? What have you all been doing? Is this the tight security you constantly boast about? Investigate! Hiruzen bellowed, his voice carrying a chilling edge. Find out how those AIM ninja infiltrated the village. Why were they targeting Danzo? Go! Bring Danzo back to me. Dead or alive, find him. The Umbu silently dispersed, scattering across the village to carry out the third's orders. Obito picked a random direction to run for a while. Once he ensured no one was nearby, he quietly slipped into another area. He effortlessly vaulted over a 2-meter-high wall and landed in the courtyard of a modest home. Seeing the lights still on in the main house, he knew the owner was waiting for him. Obito strode inside, dropping to one knee. Clan leader Fugaku, I have important news to report. Fugaku Uchiha set down the book in his hands, smiling as he helped Obito to his feet. I've told you many times, there's no need for such formality with me. Stand up. He firmly pulled Obito to his feet and guided him to sit on a nearby chair. Only then did Fugaku adopt a more serious expression. Now, tell me what happened with that explosion earlier? Obito, concise as ever, replied, it was a targeted strike by former Amigakure ninja against the root base. Danzo Shimura's fate remains unknown, and the third Hokage is furious. Currently, the entire Umbu is mobilized, scouring the village for traces of Danzo or the AIM ninja. However, I personally believe Danzo and the attackers perished in the explosion. Fugaku's eyes flashed, his mind racing. Danzo's downfall was an incredible boon for the Uchiha clan. Among Konoha's leadership, Danzo had always been their most relentless adversary. Of course, the third Hokage might have been covertly complicit in Danzo's actions. But with Danzo out of the picture, the Uchiha could finally breathe easier. With this in mind, Fugaku turned to Obito, a probing glint in his eyes. Obito, do you think our Uchiha clan should take advantage of this opportunity? Obito paused, considering the question, before slowly shaking his head. Intrigued, Fugaku asked, "Oh? Why not?" Obito replied, "Because time is on our side." Time? Fugaku unconsciously straightened in his seat, awaiting Obito's explanation. Your relationship with Minato-sensei is strong, and Minato-sensei has always shown goodwill toward our clan, Obito began. It's foreseeable that, within the next decade, Konoha's attitude toward the Uchiha may shift. Not to mention, our clan is full of talented young shinobi. We only need time to mature, and our prosperity is assured. Fugaku's expression turned slightly odd as he glanced at Obito. Was this kid praising himself? Obito ignored the look, shamelessly thinking to himself, "That's right, I'm talking about me. While I'm biding my time, I expect everyone to behave. Don't cause trouble. Otherwise, when I unleash my Susanoo-coated Buddha, I'll visit your houses daily." Besides, there's no significant conflict between Konoha and the Uchiha right now. And if there is, well, once I become the Sage of Six Paths, we can all sit down and settle things calmly. Everyone gives me face, I give everyone face. Problem solved. Obito snapped out of his revert and continued, although Minato-sensei has become the fourth Hokage, real power still rests with the third. Without Danzo to balance us, any moves we make could provoke the third suppression. Therefore, in my humble opinion, our clan should lie low for a few years, waiting for the power transition between the third and fourth to complete. Chapter 104, The Rain Princess of the Land of Rain. After listening to Obito's words, Fugaku fell into deep thought. He had only intended to test Obito a bit. But the analysis the boy provided was almost enough to convince him. This is truly... After mulling it over for a while, Fugaku nodded slowly. I understand. You'd better head back now, don't let anyone grow suspicious. Obito gave a slight bow before rising to leave. Then I'll take my leave, Fugaku-sama. Watching Obito's retreating figure, Fugaku couldn't help but silently marvel. A prodigy among his peers, with such foresight. This child has great potential. And not just him. Shizzle was also incredibly talented, with a remarkable sense of the bigger picture despite his youth. What was more important was that these two naturally gravitated toward his faction. Their relationship with Itachi was also quite close. In light of this, it might be worth investing more in them in the future. As for Obito, after leading the Fugaku household, he clicked his tongue in mild irritation. Who knows if the clan head actually bought into my little speech just now? People in high positions always have that maddeningly ambiguous attitude. Shaking his head, Obito quickened his pace, heading out of the village. Finding a secluded spot, he climbed up a large tree, leaned comfortably against its trunk, and smirked. Looking for someone? Who are you kidding? The perpetrator is me. How could I not know whether I left anyone alive? Not only did I kill the hostage, but I also wiped out the so-called culprit. Even if you comb through the entire land of rain, you'll find nothing but solitude. So why waste words? Time to AFK. With Danzo dealt with under the 10-year agreement, Obito's mood was quite good. Humming to himself, he broke into a little tune. 10 years of life and death, 2 worlds apart. Pleasant goat, pretty goat, lazy goat, bawling doe dash. After eliminating Danzo, the Uchiha clan's immediate crisis was temporarily resolved. While the third Hokage had always worked tirelessly to suppress the Uchiha, he had never harbored the extreme notion of exterminating the entire clan. With Minato-sensei around, the Uchiha's future was bound to improve gradually. Most of the Uchiha still desired peace. As long as their lives weren't unbearable, no one was eager to ignite a war. Thinking this, Obito muttered, "Still, I should take the time to knock some sense into those restless fools within the clan." Recently, certain individuals had been stirring up trouble, inciting negative emotions among the clansmen. They wanted to restore the Uchiha's glory through force. Seriously, where do a bunch of non-Mangekyo users get that kind of confidence? Really makes me wonder if they're Shakespeare's nephews, full of tragic delusions. Obito muttered to himself sarcastically. As dawn broke, the faint light scattered like rippling water, illuminating the dim sky. Obito leaped down from the tree, stretched lazily, and yawned. Ah, that was refreshing, feels great. Yawning again, he headed back toward Konoha. Time to visit that person. Navigating the village's winding streets with ease, Obito arrived at a familiar pharmacy. With a grin, he stepped inside. "Yukine-san, long time no see." Behind the counter, Yuki gave Obito a sidelong glance and quipped in a sarcastic tone. "Well, if it isn't the rare guest. My humble little shop is truly honored by your presence." Scratching the back of his head awkwardly, Obito chuckled. "I've just been a bit busy lately, hee hee." Yuki rolled her eyes. "You never come unless you need something. Spill it, what is it this time?" Obito pulled a letter from his robe and handed it to her. "I'm not here to buy anything. I was entrusted to deliver this letter to you." "Yuck!" Accepted the letter, her expression skeptical as she glanced at him. "You little brat, what kind of trouble are you up to now?" Opening the letter, she was stunned. "This is, from Akatsuki?" Obito gave her a wry smile and gestured for her to lower her voice. "Yukine-san, please keep it down." Ignoring him, Yuki focused on reading the letter. It was a joint message from Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato. The letter began with introductions, detailing how each of them had grown over the years. It recounted their journey from hating the land of rain to loving it. From passively resisting war to bravely standing up, determined to change everything. The formation of the Akatsuki, their goals, and their vision for a better future were all outlined. When Yuki reached the part about Hanzo's betrayal, she couldn't help but gasp. "What?" But soon after, she read how, with outside help, the three managed to kill Hanzo and seize control of Amagakure. Although the details were sparse, Yuki could feel the intense peril they must have faced. The latter part of the letter meticulously described the changes in Amagakure, or rather, Akatsuki village over the past year. Under the Akatsuki's leadership, the village had slowly started to improve. Likewise, the once dying land of rain was showing signs of revival. However, transforming an entire country wasn't a task that could be accomplished in such a short time. It would take decades at least. Thus, at the end of the letter, the trio sincerely invited Yuki to return to the land of rain. They wanted her to join them in changing the nation. Yuki, as one of the most talented nobles of her generation and a beloved figure among the people, could inspire the entire country and significantly accelerate their reforms. No matter its flaws, it is still our home. As she read these words, tears began to fall. For so long, the land of rain had only brought her pain. She had desperately fled from that tragic country. But now she realized there were still people she had abandoned, willing to sacrifice everything to make it better. The thought was like a dagger to her heart. I abandoned them. I abandoned them. Obito gently placed a hand on her shoulder. It's not too late. You still have a chance to make things right. Yuki lifted her tear-streaked face and blurted out, I'll do it. Obito nodded, his expression solemn. In that case, the third Hokage will contact you within a week to discuss this matter. When the time comes, just tell him your decision. He'll help you. But please, Yuki, don't mention me or this letter. Yuki bit her lip and nodded. Don't worry. I won't. She looked at Obito and asked softly, It was you, wasn't it? Obito smiled faintly. I don't know what you're talking about, Yukine-san. But if you say so, then sure I won't argue. Yuki let out a small laugh, wiping her tears. Thank you, little brat. I wish I had a younger brother like you. Obito shrugged. Great. So all these years of calling you Nasan were for nothing? Obito, little brother? Hey, Yuki Nasan, can I get a hug from my big sister? Get lost. Okay, geez. Chapter 105, Playing Pretend Again. Konohagakure. Inside the Hokage's office, the third Hokage slammed his hand on the desk with a loud bang, his visible anger radiating from his furrowed brows. 3 whole days! And you still can't find a single trace of him? Is this what the famed Konoha ANBU has been reduced to? The squad leader kneeling before him wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and stammered. Please, Hokage-sama, calm down. While we've yet to pinpoint his escape route, we have uncovered some clues about the other matter you entrusted to us. The third Hokage's expression softened slightly as he took a long drag from his pipe. Go on, then. How exactly is Danzo tied to the former Amigakure? The ANBU captain hesitated briefly before recounting Danzo's activities in the Land of Rain in full detail. Asterisk. And that's the gist of it, Hokage-sama. What? The third Hokage shot to his feet, disbelief etched on his face. To prevent a truce with the Wagakure, he posed as an Iwanin and slaughtered innocent civilians in the Land of Rain? He secretly colluded with Hanzo the Salamander to frame the current leader of the newly formed Akatsuki village? And then, in the end, he actually killed Hanzo himself? With a snap, the third Hokage broke his pipe in half, his hands trembling with fury. His current state could only be described in 3 words: angry, trembling, cold. A man who had prided himself on his restraint his entire life now found himself swearing aloud for the first time. No wonder the Rain Ninja are willing to die just to take him down. Danzo, my old friend, you've certainly been keeping plenty of surprises from me. The third Hokage slammed his desk once more, his voice thick with venom. Why bother searching for him? Let the bastard die out there for all I care. He paced furiously, the weight of his sacrifices for peace pressing heavily on his chest. He had given so much stepping down voluntarily to ensure a smoother transition for the next generation, only for Danzo to jeopardize it all with his reckless schemes. With a wave of his hand, he dismissed the ANBU captain. Go now, wait. The captain, who had just risen to his feet, rolled his eyes internally but knelt again. Since we've confirmed Danzo's actions, divert all our resources to finding him. Bring him back alive. I want to question him myself. What on earth was he thinking? Always claiming everything is for Konoha, is this his idea of ensuring Konoha's survival? By making sure it gets destroyed first? The ANBU captain remained stoic as the third Hokage ranted, silently marveling at the depth of their relationship. Sure, he was spouting death threats now, but in reality, TSK. Enough. Dismissed. Yes, Hokage-sama. Watching the subordinate leave, the third Hokage slammed his desk one last time. Damn you, Danzo. The newly formed Akatsuki village had recently begun advocating for peace, aligning its goals closely with Konoha's. The third Hokage had even been mulling over initiating deeper cooperation with them. But now? If word of Danzo's actions ever got out, forget cooperation, they'd be lucky. If Akatsuki didn't harbor a lifelong grudge against Konoha. And worse, if a village known for peace publicly condemned Konoha's crimes, the repercussions for the Land of Fire would be catastrophic. Sighing, the third Hokage retrieved a fresh pipe and lit it, puffing away in melancholy. What should I do? What should I do? After a while, he seemed to have come to a decision. Perhaps it's time to ask the princess if she's willing to return to the Land of Rain. Elsewhere, Obito was lounging in the grass, humming a tune to himself, entirely at odds with his frantic ANBU colleagues. Until the crystal on the nexus shatters, only then will you see my tears and regret dash. While everyone else had spent 3 grueling days searching, Obito had spent his time leisurely loitering around the village and its outskirts. Lying back, he mused aloud. By now, the third Hokage should have received the report about Danzo's antics in the Land of Rain. And conveniently, he suspects the Rain Ninja might have abducted Danzo. He's probably worried about negative rumors spreading out of the Land of Rain. The third Hokage had often mentioned to Obito his desire to establish an alliance with Akatsuki, praising their peaceful ideals. Obito chuckled darkly. If I were in his shoes, I'd definitely try to smooth things over by reaching out to Reinheim. After all, wasn't saving her back then meant as a contingency, a way to have leverage when needed? Satisfied with his deductions, Obito stood and vanished into the camel dimension. Reappearing, he donned a black cloak and an orange mask. I need to come across as more intimidating, or maybe a little edgier. He smirked. Can't have him thinking I'm not serious. In a hidden lab outside Konoha, Orochimaru was busy destroying his research, his expression grim. The lab was filled with advanced equipment, each piece worth a fortune. Clad in a white lab coat, his pale complexion, golden slit pupil eyes, and purple eyeshadow gave him an unsettling appearance. His blue-green earrings only added to his sinister air. Suddenly, a voice rang out behind him. Orochimaru. Startled, Orochimaru dropped the instrument he was holding, whipping around, his eyes narrowed in suspicion. When did this masked weirdo show up behind me, he thought, licking his lips nervously. Who are you? Orochimaru asked wartly. The masked man responded in a deep voice, filled with menace. I am Uchiha Madara. Orochimaru let out a hissing laugh, a playful tone in his voice. Surely you jest. Uchiha Madara has been dead for years. How could he possibly be standing before me now? The masked man tilted his head slightly, casting a cold, sidelong glance at Orochimaru. The snake Sanin's heart skipped a beat. A sidelong glare is one thing, but tilting his head too? How audacious! Chapter 106, Intimidating Orochimaru. Obito rotated his neck, slightly stiff from spending the night outdoors. Then, with a cold gaze, he turned to Orochimaru. Just like your research into the living corpse reincarnation technique, I have my own methods. Orochimaru's heart nearly leaped out of his chest. The living corpse reincarnation was his most guarded secret, one he never spoke of, not even to his closest subordinates. Apart from himself, no one else should have known about it. Fixing his snake-like eyes on Obito, Orochimaru licked his lips and asked cautiously, How did you come to know about that? 7. Obito snorted dismissively. There's nothing in the shinobi world that escapes the knowledge of Uchiha Madara. Orochimaru's pupils contracted briefly before his expression relaxed, shifting into a playful smirk. Hiss. But the Madara of legend is said to be unmatched in dominance. I doubt he'd have the patience to explain so much to someone like me. Obito mentally cursed. What a piece of work. Try to talk to you nicely, and this is how you repay me? Fine, time for a little lesson. His Sharingan whirred to life, the 3 tomos spinning slowly. In an instant, Orochimaru's body froze as Obito seized control. Even at half my peak strength, I'm not someone a junior like you can afford to provoke, Obito declared arrogantly, his tone a mix of fanaticism and pride. Besides, his voice deepened. I've inherited the power of Hashirama. With a sharp clap of his hands, Obito summoned a surge of wooden spikes that erupted from the ground, piercing toward the immobilized Orochimaru. The spikes skewered him like a kebab. Ah! That hurts! Orochimaru gasped, sweat pouring down his face. He can use would release. Sharingan. Would release. Could he really be the resurrected Uchiha Madara? And did he somehow gain Hashirama's powers? The combination of Sharingan and would release a fusion of 2 terrifying Kekkle Jankel meant that if this man regained his full strength, no one in the shinobi world could stand against him. Unconsciously, Orochimaru began to believe about 70% of Obito's claims. Madara-sama, Orochimaru said tentatively, what brings you to me? Obito snorted. I'm currently focused on regaining my full strength. There are tasks I cannot handle personally. Are you interested? As he spoke, his eyes narrowed, and he clenched his fist. The wooden spikes piercing Orochimaru's body tightened, twisting in his wounds. I would be honored to serve you. Orochimaru quickly replied. Humph. With a flick of his hand, Obito retracted the wooden spikes from Orochimaru's body. You younger generations never seem to know your limits until you've tasted blood, Obito said coldly. Orochimaru forced a pained smile. Yes, my earlier arrogance was a grave mistake. Please forgive me, Madara-sama. Turning his back to Orochimaru, Obito crossed his arms behind him. Danzo is in trouble, and your clandestine dealings with him won't stay hidden for long. Once you leave Konoha, I expect you to serve me wholeheartedly. In return, I'll grant you immortality. Orochimaru's heart skipped a beat. Obito's mysterious aura only deepened. Not only did he know about the living corpse reincarnation, but he also understood Orochimaru's ultimate goal and even the secrets he shared with Danzo. He even knows about the Sharingan transplants I performed for Danzo. As that thought crossed Orochimaru's mind, Obito turned his head slightly, his voice icy. Don't doubt me. I'm fully aware of the crimes you and Danzo committed against the Uchiha clan. Were it not for your talents, you'd already be dead, your body crushed, your soul sealed. Orochimaru broke out in a cold sweat. Madara-sama, those past actions were all at Danzo's behest. Spare me your excuses, Obito raised a hand, silencing Orochimaru. I'm not interested, nor do I care to hear them. I have only one task for you. Complete it, and you'll be rewarded. Fall, and... Obito's gaze turned murderous, and Orochimaru's heart clenched. Speak your command. I'll give everything I have to fulfill it. Orochimaru vowed. Obito nodded approvingly. Good. I want you to continue perfecting the impure world reincarnation technique. I'll have need of it in the future. Can you do that? Orochimaru's numb body stiffened. He no longer had the energy to be surprised. What's the point? He seems to know everything about me anyway. Give me a few years, and I'll ensure you're satisfied, Orochimaru replied humbly. Obito nodded slightly. Our conversation ends here. Don't try to contact me. Once you've completed the technique, I'll find you. If your results please me, I'll grant you immortality. The promise of immortality, and the confidence in Obito's tone. Orochimaru's thoughts swirled. What kind of power does he possess to make such a guarantee? Before he could gather his thoughts, he realized Obito had vanished without a trace. Smirking wryly, Orochimaru muttered to himself, was I just speaking with a ghost? Uchiha Madara, or not, it hardly matters. That kind of power, that would release, he's worth following. Orochimaru licked his lips, a sly grin spreading across his face. Now, how can I take advantage of this situation? On the other side of the village, Obito left Orochimaru's laboratory and changed into his Umbu attire. After that little display, Orochimaru should speed up his work on impure world reincarnation, he mused, cracking his knuckles. Today's intimidation session went well. Once I've grown stronger, perhaps I can truly bring him into my fold. He frowned suddenly. Damn it! I'm reminded of that stupid system again. So frustrating. The system's voice. No comment. Time flew by, and a week passed. Despite the Umbu's best efforts, they still couldn't figure out how the Rain Ninja had infiltrated the village. After calming down, the third Hokage refrained from punishing his subordinates too harshly, mainly because he couldn't solve the mystery himself. Instead, he turned his attention to an even more pressing matter, escorting Lady Yuki back to the Land of Rain. 2 nights ago, after a long conversation with Yuki, he convinced her to return to her homeland and foster an alliance between the two nations. Now, they awaited the arrival of the Fire Daimyo's envoys, who would accompany Yuki to her country. This journey will be fraught with danger. The third Hokage frowned. Sending a delegation to the Land of Rain would inevitably draw attention from bordering nations like the Land of Wind and the Land of Earth. After some deliberation, the Hokage suddenly had a spark of inspiration. Uchiha Obito. His strength is extraordinary, and his rapport with Lady Yuki is solid. He's the perfect candidate. The third quickly picked up his brush and wrote down Obito's name, along with a list of accompanying teams. 8 regular teams for close protection, and 2 Umbu teams for covert support. That should be sufficient. Chapter 107, Poor Obito. Konoha. Umbu Headquarters. The singer cares not for a nation's fall, singing twin sticks across the river Hohohahel quickly used the nunchaku. Obito hummed a cheerful tune to himself as he changed into casual clothes, ready to leave Umbu headquarters. After working non-stop for 7 days, he was finally getting a 3-day break. Heh, it's been so long since I spent time with Rin, finally, some time to get closer. Hee. I wonder if she's worn those fishnet stockings I gave her last time. Do they feel as nice as silk stockings? Come to think of it, fishnet designs were incredibly popular in the ninja world, so much so that even boys seemed to like them. Take Shikamaru, Naruto, Itachi, Gaara, and even Jiraiya as examples, huh? Just as Obito stepped out of the Umbu gate, he was stopped by another operative. Uchiha Obito, the third Hokage has a mission for you. Please come with me? Obito froze in place, utterly stunned. What bad luck. This was like a panda ordering takeout straight-up bamboo delivery. Just when I finally get a break. And you throw a mission at me. In Umbu, there was no such thing as compensatory leave. If you lost your vacation, it was gone for good. Obito forced a smile and said, "All right, give me a moment to change." With a heavy heart, he changed back into his still warm Umbu uniform and begrudgingly followed the operative to the Hokage's office. The third Hokage greeted him with a stern expression and tossed him a scroll. Obito, I have an important mission for you. This is a matter of great significance, so stay sharp and give it your all. Opening the scroll, Obito's eyes widened. An S-rank mission? A mission involving classified, nation-level secrets. As he read further, understanding dawned on him. Oh, a task to escort Princess Yuki back to her homeland. Of course, it had to land on me. Sigh. This is what they call lifting a rock only to drop it on your own foot. Obito handed the scroll back to the Hokage and said, I've read it, third Sama. The Hokage took back the scroll, took a puff of his pipe, and said, This mission is under your full command. 2 Umbu squads will accompany you ensure the safety of both the delegation and Princess Yuki. Obito nodded firmly. Understood, third Sama. Good. The Hokage's expression softened, replaced by a kind smile. By the way, you seem to have a decent relationship with Yuki. I imagine you've already guessed her identity? Obito replied without hesitation, I've had some suspicions, but I wasn't certain. The Hokage gave a slight nod. All right, go make your preparations. Departure is tomorrow at dawn. Yes. Leaving the Hokage's office, Obito walked through the village deep in thought. If word about the mission to the Land of Rain spreads. The lands of Earth and Wind will undoubtedly send people to intercept the delegation, doing whatever they can to disrupt an alliance between the Land of Fire and the Land of Rain. He chuckled to himself. Now that the 3 nations have signed peace treaties, those ambushing the delegation will likely be mysterious bandits, right? Returning to Umbu, Obito swiftly changed into his casual clothes again and hurried to Konoha Hospital. He was an adult now, and today, no one was going to stop him from spending time with Rin. Konoha Hospital. A handsome male doctor hovered near a young woman, chatting incessantly. Noera, how about dinner tonight? The hospital's promotion exams are coming up. I have a friend on the review panel who could help you out. The woman, Noera Rin, responded with a polite but firm smile. No need, Kishimoto. I'm confident I can pass the assessment on my own. A flash of annoyance crossed Kishimoto's face. He'd invested so much time and effort into pursuing this woman. To win her heart, he'd even broken things off with all his other girlfriends. Yet no matter how he tried, Rin remained indifferent. Usually, his family's wealth, good looks, and medical prowess were enough to make women fall for him with just a crooked finger. But this Noera Rin? Completely unappreciative. She even had the gall to use the excuse of having a boyfriend to reject him. A boyfriend? So what? I have a wife, did I say anything about it? If we're truly in love, what's wrong with sharing? 4 people can live happily together. Kishimoto's patience had run dry. His voice turned cold. You know, Noera, hard work doesn't always lead to success. Don't you agree? Rin's expression shifted, her irritation evident. Are you threatening me, Kishimoto? With a sinister smile, Kishimoto replied, Don't misunderstand, Noera. I'm merely sharing some insight. Miss this chance at promotion, and who knows when the next one will come. I just think knowing the right people could help your career. Don't you agree? Kishimoto leaned closer, his tone dripping with malice. In his mind, this veiled threat was enough to make Rin obedient. Although he preferred a more consensual approach, sometimes coercion added its own spice. Rin's patience finally snapped, and just as she was about to push him away. Who the hell are you? Get away from my girlfriend. The arrogant voice startled everyone. The next moment, Kishimoto felt a powerful force slam into him, sending him flying. The onlookers began whispering, some even cheering. Ha! That lecherous butterfly finally got what he deserved. But won't Noera face trouble for this later? Shoo! Don't let that coward hear you. What a shame, though. Rin's such a nice girl. Seeing who had arrived, Rin's face lit up with joy. Obito-kun. What are you doing here? With a broad grin, Obito replied, Hee hee, I came to pick you up from work. Meanwhile, Kishimoto got up, his face flushed with rage. The woman he pursued for so long was now wrapped tightly in another man's arms. Furious, he stormed over to Obito, jabbing his finger into his chest. You dare cross me? I could have your girlfriend fired with just a word. Obito blinked, feigning confusion. Really? And do you believe I can make you disappear without saying a word? Chapter 108, A Private Visit to Akatsuki Village. Obito initially wanted to slap Kishimoto across the face. To teach him a lesson about how harsh society could be and how treacherous people could become. But then, considering Rin and her colleagues were present, he decided to appear more refined. Obito adjusted his clothing, revealing the Uchiha clan emblem on his back. The sight of the small fan emblem caused Kishimoto's momentum to falter. You! Uchiha clan? He clenched his teeth. So what if he's from the Uchiha clan? The Konoha police force and Konoha hospital aren't even part of the same system. What's there to fear? Kishimoto's mind was fixated on one thought. He had been humiliated on his own turf in front of so many people. If he didn't regain some face, he'd become the laughingstock of the entire hospital. So, Kishimoto pretended not to notice the emblem, hardened his resolve, and barked, his bravado shaky yet intact. Have your girlfriend join me for a meal, apologize, and this can all be water under the bridge. If not. Hearing this, Obito couldn't help but laugh. Trying to act tough in front of someone like me? And daring to have designs on Rin? Don't you fear that I might just dig out your heart tonight? Walt, calm down, calm down. This is a perfect opportunity to show off. Obito adjusted his clothing again, causing a white mask to fall to the ground. Oops, seems like I dropped something. He quickly picked up the mask and tucked it back into his robe. It wasn't uncommon for ANBU operatives to carry their masks around, ready to reveal their identity or enter mission mode at any moment. Obito's movements were swift, collecting the mask before anyone around could get a clear look. But this didn't stop the gossiping. Why is that kid carrying a bar of soap? And dropping it no less. That doesn't look like soap to me. It's huge. Maybe it's some kind of full-face mask? You know, for safety. Looks more like an ANBU mask to me. Old man, what are you talking about? That's definitely not a mask. While the onlookers speculated wildly, Kishimoto, standing nearby, had seen everything clearly. That was an ANBU mask? Before he could process it fully, Obito turned to Rin and spoke casually. Rin-chan, if you're unhappy working here, just let Minato-sensei know. Or I could talk to Hiruzen-sama for you and ask him to have a word with your director. Halfway through his sentence, Obito glanced at Kishimoto, as if suddenly remembering something. Oh, by the way, you mentioned earlier, who was it that should get lost? Kishimoto's brain short-circuited at this moment. Minato. Hiruzen. Why do those names sound so familiar? Minato. Namikaze Minato? Sarutobi Hiruzen? The third Hokage and the fourth Hokage? Kishimoto's mouth hung open in shock, forming an O shape. He stared at Rin in disbelief. Girl, with a background like yours, why are you keeping it low-key? If I were you, I'd be strutting around Konoha every day. You almost got me killed here. Under Obito's amused gaze, Kishimoto panicked. He had tried to get someone like her to get lost. If they wanted, a single word could end him today. Kishimoto stammered, swallowing hard. What I meant was, if your girlfriend tells me to, I'll leave immediately. Obito nodded in mock realization, then turned to Rin with a smile. Rin, you heard him. Why not grant his wish? Rin playfully punched Obito in the arm, her voice soft. You're so annoying, Obito-kun. Then she turned to Kishimoto, her expression shifting. Scram! And don't let me see you again so irritating. Understood, understood? Kishimoto bowed repeatedly. Kishimoto, am a reasonable man. Please, forgive and forget. I promise never to bother you again. Obito waved dismissively. All right. Off you go. I have no interest in dealing with you. Kishimoto fled as if granted a pardon, leaving the onlookers baffled. Wasn't he just the one shouting for the others to leave? How did he end up scurrying away instead? Without sparing another glance, Obito held Rin's hand and led her out of the hospital. His thoughts, however, were entirely elsewhere, focused on Rin's legs, of course. As for Kishimoto? Obito made a mental note to ensure his disappearance at a later date. That evening, after walking Rin home, leaving her blushing furiously at her doorstep, Obito used camel to teleport to the Land of Rain, appearing in Akatsuki village. In the village chief's office, Yahiko looked at the sudden arrival of Obito, startled. Obito, what brings you here? He set aside the paperwork in his hands, yawning. This late at night, is there something urgent? Obito nodded. Yeah, something I wanted to discuss with you and the others. Is Conan and Nagato around? Maybe we could talk, over a game? Yahiko's exhaustion evaporated instantly. If it's mahjong you're talking about, I'm wide awake now. Minutes later, the four of them gathered around a mahjong table, cheerfully playing as they talked. As Obito played a tile, he casually brought up, Rainheim has agreed to return home. She'll depart tomorrow with the Fire Nation's diplomatic envoy. Conan clapped her hands in excitement. That's great news. Pung. Yahiko, deep in thought, asked. Obito, is that all you came to tell us? Not entirely. Obito shook his head. I'm in charge of escorting the envoy this time? I'm worried that the Earth and Wind nations might target us at the border. RD like Nagato to assist if things get tricky. Nagato, intrigued, raised an eyebrow. With your strength, you're worried? Unless they send a full army, I doubt anyone can stop you. Obito sighed. It's about the circumstances. In front of so many people, I can't just use certain techniques, it's frustrating. Yahiko burst into laughter, quickly understanding Obito's plight. He turned to Nagato and stole a glance at his hand. Nagato, why don't you go? It'll show Reinheim that Akatsuki values her highly, and it'll let the Fire Nation know we're allies, not subordinates. Nagato blocked Yahiko's prying gaze and chuckled. All right. Though, Obito, wouldn't Kamet be faster for escorting her? Obito shrugged. Sure, but until I become truly unbeatable, I'd rather keep a low profile. This ability draws too much attention. The game continued, with Nagato using Bancho Tenin to shuffle the tiles. A display that left Obito in awe. Nagato, your mastery of ocular techniques is truly remarkable. Nagato smirked. Nothing much, just practice. Chapter 109, Don't Panic, Comrades. Akatsuki Village. In the village chief's office, at the mahjong table. After losing several rounds in a row, Obito began to feel something was off. He shot a suspicious glance at Nagato sitting beside him. Nagato, are you sure you shuffled the tiles properly? Nagato smiled faintly. Obito, what are you saying? We're comrades here. How could I possibly cheat you? Ha! Obito closed his eyes, letting his intuition guide him. Nagato, I'm asking again, are you absolutely sure you shuffled these tiles properly? For some reason, Nagato suddenly felt guilty under Obito's intense gaze. Ahem, of course I did. After a few more rounds of mahjong, with strong suggestions from Yahiko, Konan, and Obito, the group agreed to shuffle the tiles manually from then on. The next morning, Obito, sporting 2 dark circles under his eyes, yawned and said, I'm heading back to Konoha now. See you later. Konan, having won all night and in a very good mood, smiled and waved. Safe travels. Yahiko had already fallen asleep on the table. After covering him with a blanket, Nagato turned to Obito and said, Obito, I'll see you at the border later then. Obito nodded with a grin. You got it. Squinting tiredly, he made his way back to Konoha. So sleepy? After yawning his way into the ANBU headquarters, he changed into his uniform and headed to the rendezvous point. When he arrived at the village gate, he was shocked to find the convoy already gone. One of his subordinates in ANBU explained helplessly. Captain, you're late again. The envoy has already departed. Obito clicked his tongue. Seriously. All right, let's hurry and catch up. The 8 ANBU members set off in a rush, hopping through the forest. Before long, they caught up with the convoy of carriages ahead. One of the ANBU, a curious young man named Yamanaka Jingtian, codenamed Felping, turned to Obito. Captain, why are your Sharingan activated the whole time today? Obito cleared his throat. It's a mission outside the village. Naturally, we must stay vigilant and be on high alert. Jingtian gave him a thumbs up. As expected of our captain. Obito chuckled awkwardly. He couldn't possibly admit that he had bloodshot eyes from staying up all night playing mahjong, could he? The journey was uneventful until Jingtian remarked with a smile. Looks like this mission might be an easy one. Obito shook his head. We're still within the land of fire. Even if the lands of wind or earth wanted to attack us, they wouldn't risk reigniting the war here. But once we reach the borders of the land of rain, things could get dicey. Stay on your guard. His warning sent a chill through the group, and Jingtian nodded repeatedly. Understood, Captain. A few days later, the convoy neared the border of the land of fire. Felping Obito called. Jingtian understood immediately and formed a hand seal. Through the gap in his interlocked fingers, he focused on a bird perched in a nearby tree. Mind-body switch technique. The bird spread its wings and soared into the sky, scouting ahead. Moments later, it returned, and Jingtian's consciousness returned to his body. His expression was grim. Captain, there's an ambush ahead. And they outnumber us significantly. The group of ANBU tensed, gripping their weapons tightly. Obito pondered for a moment. Outnumber us significantly, you said? Does that mean they don't outnumber us by that much? Huh? Jingtian blinked, then nodded hesitantly. Why yes. Obito's tense expression relaxed. Well, that's not too bad, then. Nagato can probably handle it easily. Jingtian, still anxious, asked. Captain, what's the plan? The ANBU team looked at Obito, awaiting his orders. After thinking for a moment, Obito declared. First, don't panic. Second, perform as usual. And third, stay calm and don't do anything reckless. The group, 777. What kind of advice is that? Obito burst out laughing at their bewildered faces. Relax. Let them gloat for now. While 3 of his ANBU managed to hold back their disbelief and comply with his instructions, the other team was less patient. Their captain silently fumed. What was the third Hokage thinking, putting this reckless kid in charge? He subtly signaled his team to prepare. When the time comes, we'll have to save the day ourselves. This is our chance to earn some merit. As soon as the convoy crossed the border, dozens of ambushing shinobi leapt out from their hiding spots. Though dressed like typical ninjas, they loudly proclaimed, "We're bandits!" The ANBU team sprang into action. Protect the envoy. One of the ANBU teams charged forward enthusiastically, but Jingtian turned to Obito. Captain, should we engage? Obito waved him off with a smile. No need. The 3 stayed put, watching as the chaos unfolded. 10 seconds later, a deep, resonant voice boomed across the battlefield, amplified as though by a loudspeaker. Universal pull. The bandits were swept away by an invisible force before the leaf shinobi could even engage. The remaining ANBU were left dumbfounded. Who is this? An ally or an enemy? I have no idea. Stay cautious. Nagato approached, his imposing figure cutting through the confusion. He called out. Comrades of Konoha, don't panic. I am the branch secretary of Akatsuki village. The leaf shinobi were stunned. Akatsuki village? That newly established place? But, what's a branch secretary? Not sure, but stay alert. Wait, isn't that what I just said? Meanwhile, Jingtian curiously asked Obito. Captain, what's a branch secretary? Obito rolled his eyes. It's someone who assists the village chief in managing the village and organizing various activities. Oh! So it's like an assistant to the Hokage? Exactly. Jingtian stared at Obito in admiration. Captain, you're amazing. You know everything. Obito's smug grin widened. Of course, he knew. After all, he was the one who'd come up with the title branch secretary in the first place. Jingtian added, Captain, you must have predicted that Akatsuki village would send someone to assist us, didn't you? Obito waved modestly, though his expression practically glowed with pride. Keep it low-key, keep it low-key. Chapter 110, The End of an Era. Behind Nagato, a few emissaries from Akatsuki village followed closely. On Konoha's side, it was unclear whether these visitors were allies or enemies, leaving everyone hesitant to act. Observing the tense situation, Obito jumped down from the tree and approached the Konoha team. A squad leader leaned in and whispered to him. The man ahead claims to be from Akatsuki village. What should we do? Obito smiled lightly. Stay calm. I'll verify their identities. The squad leader reminded him cautiously, please be careful. Don't worry. Obito walked toward Nagato, who stepped forward to meet him. Clearing his throat, Obito feigned seriousness as he asked. Are you truly emissaries from Akatsuki village? Nagato stifled a laugh and nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes. That's correct. Hearing this, Obito turned back to the Konoha squad and confidently declared. Everyone, no need to worry. They're indeed emissaries from Akatsuki village sent to escort us. Someone in the Konoha team exclaimed with relief. So they're allies after all. With the misunderstanding cleared, both sides merged into one group and proceeded together toward Akatsuki village. Arrival at Akatsuki village. The journey passed uneventfully. Upon arrival, Yahiko and a group of Akatsuki Corps members personally came out to greet the delegation from the Land of Fire and the Princess of the Land of Rain. Watching from the shadows, Obito sighed. Sigh, the coming days are bound to be boring. The delegation from the Land of Fire was scheduled to stay in the Land of Rain for a month-long inspection. During this time, Obito and his squad were tasked with ensuring their safety. Yahiko and the others would certainly be preoccupied, and Lady Yuki probably wouldn't have time for him either. But that was fine. Glancing at his teammates, Obito's eyes lit up. Their squad had 4 members, just enough for a round of mahjong. Or, they could call over another squad and play a game of Mafia. Back in Konoha. While Obito was away, significant events unfolded in Konoha. In the Hokage's office, an ANBU knelt before the third Hokage, reporting in a deep voice. Third Sama, the thorough investigation of Root is complete. Aside from the issues I previously reported to you. The ANBU hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and continued. We discovered a child within Root, one who has mastered would release. Would release? The third Hokage's expression was a mix of shock and delight. He snapped the pipe in his hand with a loud crack. His reaction was understandable. The significance of a would-release user to Konoha was immeasurable. Firstly, the first Hokage, the founder of Konoha, was most renowned for his mastery of would-release. Secondly, its sealing techniques were instrumental in controlling Jinchuriki, crucial for the village's stability. Finally, the innate power of would-release as a Kekkle Jankle made it a formidable asset. With proper training, a would-release ninja could become a powerful protector or perhaps even a successful real estate developer. When the third Hokage calmed down, his expression grew grim. He turned to the ANBU and asked sharply, "Where did this would-release user come from?" The ANBU hesitated before answering. Based on our intel, it seems the child was created through human experimentation. Before he could finish, the third Hokage slammed the desk, shattering it in two. Danzo! Years ago, in pursuit of would-release, both the third Hokage and Danzo had initiated a series of experiments involving willing volunteers, many of whom carried Senju blood. However, due to the high mortality rate from cellular rejection, the project was halted under the third Hokage's orders. But that bastard dared to continue in secret. The third Hokage's face darkened further, his anger barely contained. It wasn't just Danzo. Someone had to be aiding him in these experiments. And in Konoha, only one person could have provided the necessary expertise, his own disciple Orochimaru. Suppressing his fury, the third Hokage barked. "Bring Orochimaru to me. Now." "Understood." Orochimaru's betrayal. Half an hour later, the same ANBU returned, kneeling before the Hokage with a grim expression. "Third Sama, we've searched every corner of the village, but we couldn't find any trace of Orochimaru." The third Hokage took a drag from his pipe, his voice heavy. "Are you saying my disciple has defected?" "Yes," the ANBU replied reluctantly. "It seems Orochimaru has abandoned the village." The third Hokage said nothing. Smoke from his pipe obscured his face, masking his emotions. After a long silence, he finally spoke in a calm, measured tone. "Orochimaru's knowledge, intelligence, and techniques are invaluable to Konoha. If this information falls into enemy hands, the village will suffer immeasurably. Place Orochimaru on the S-rank rogue ninja list. We must not let him escape the Land of Fire." "Understood." The ANBU hesitated before asking, "And the would-release child? Should we recruit him?" The third Hokage shook his head. Assign him to the fourth Hokage's personal ANBU team. There's an opening he can fill. "Yes, sir." The ANBU departed swiftly. Left alone in his vast office, the third Hokage sighed deeply. Danzo. Orochimaru. He let out a bitter laugh, throwing his broken pipe to the ground. A new generation. The next morning, the third Hokage resumed his duties as usual. An ANBU captain knelt before him, reporting the previous day's developments. The fourth Hokage is fully cooperating. I believe we'll intercept Orochimaru before he leaves the Land of Fire. The third Hokage rubbed his temples wearily. Good work. You may leave. The captain hesitated before adding. One more thing, third Sama. Uchiha Shursui has applied to join the ANBU. The fourth Hokage is unsure and wishes to seek your guidance. The third Hokage's eyes softened with nostalgia. Shizzle. He's like Kagami back in the day, a fine young man who embodies the will of fire. Smiling faintly, he waved a hand. Let the fourth Hokage decide. He's the current leader of Konoha. Understood. As the captain departed, he glanced back at the aging Hokage. Once a proud and vigorous warrior, the third Hokage now seemed worn down by the passage of time. His shoulders stooped under the weight of betrayal and loss. Still, the captain thought, he was also witnessing the birth of a new era. Shaking off his melancholy, he quickened his pace toward the ANBU headquarters. All for Konoha. Chapter 111, Konoha Year 50. A month later. The Land of Fire's delegation completed their inspections and, accompanied by the team from Akatsuki, departed the Land of Rain, heading toward Konoha. Obito and his team carefully escorted the delegations the entire way. When they finally arrived in Konoha, Obito let out a sigh of relief. Phew, mission accomplished. Finally, I can get some proper rest. Beside him, Jingtian yawned dramatically, looking utterly exhausted. No kidding! We've been staying up half the night every day. I'm about to collapse from sleep deprivation. Hold it! Obito suddenly slapped his forehead. While the mission was indeed complete, he still needed to report back to the third Hokage. Realizing this, Obito cast a sly glance at his team members. The two who understood Obito's nature instantly became alert and took a step back. Only the sleep-deprived and slower Jingtian remained standing dumbfounded. Obito grinned. He clapped Jingtian on the shoulder and said, Jingtian, the honor of reporting to Third Sama falls to you. Still groggy, Jingtian perked up immediately upon hearing this. Huh? Why me? That's your job, boss. Obito coughed and replied, Come on, be good. I'll even ask my girlfriend to introduce you to some nurse girls later. At the mention of nurses, Jingtian grabbed Obito's hand with sudden vigor. Boss, you're not lying, are you? Obito patted his chest confidently. You've known me forever. When have I ever gone back on my word? With that, Jingtian was motivated. Leave it to me, boss. I'll get the job done. Having successfully passed the task to Jingtian, Obito returned to the UMBU headquarters to change out of his uniform before heading home cheerfully. Grandma, I'm back. Hearing Obito's voice, Grandma came out with a warm smile. My dear grandson is back. Let Grandma see if you've gone hungry. That evening, Grandma prepared a feast. Obito ate with such enthusiasm that he couldn't stop praising the food. Watching her grandson devour the meal, Grandma smiled warmly. Obito, you're turning 17 soon. About you and Rin. Obito froze, forcing a smile. Ah, Grandma, I'm not 17 yet. Let's talk about it next year, okay? Next year. Konoha Year 50. Grandma beamed at Obito. Obito, you're already 17 now. About you and Rin. Obito was dumbfounded. It felt like Grandma had brought up marriage just a second ago. How had a year passed in the blink of an eye? This is absurd. He dashed out of the house as if fleeing. It's getting late, Grandma. I've got to get to work. Let's talk when I get back. That rascal. Watching her grandson run off, Grandma shook her head helplessly. Rin's such a good girl. Why hasn't he gone and married her already? 17-year-olds getting married isn't uncommon, some even have kids by now. When will I get to hold my great-grandchild? Donning his umbu gear, Obito began his day's mission. With blade in hand, he dispatched enemies one by one while his mind wandered. Now that the Land of Fire and the Land of Rain were allies, the power transition between the third and fourth Hokage was progressing smoothly. The high-level shift in attitude toward the Uchiha clan was also reshaping the village's perception of them. Obito chuckled softly, muttering to himself. Thanks to my intervention, today's Konoha is a far better place than I remember. Across from him, an enemy ninja misinterpreted Obito's laughter as mockery. Damn you! How dare you insult the Shinabazu? Die! The ninja's roar snapped Obito out of his thoughts. Annoying. Obito raised his blade and ended the ninja's life with a single strike, restoring peace and quiet. His thoughts wandered back. In this world, getting married at 17 or 18 is pretty normal. So about Rin and me. Obito hesitated. But I'm not the sage of 6 paths yet. I can't ride a rainbow cloud or carry 9 black orbs to propose to her. To Obito, a wedding was a once-in-a-lifetime event. For those who'd had several weddings in one lifetime, well, those people didn't count. In any case, it had to be grand and unforgettable. A spectacle so awe-inspiring that everyone who recalled it would be amazed. This dilemma left Obito conflicted. On one hand, he wanted to be with Rin as soon as possible and do intimate things. On the other, he wanted to wait until he became the sage of 6 paths to give Rin a wedding that would be remembered forever. At that moment, a mysterious voice echoed in his mind. Ding, no need to be conflicted, host. This system might have a solution for you. Startled, Obito asked aloud, Who are you, and why are you in my head? Meow, meow, meow. I'm your system. After a moment of deep thought, Obito's expression lit up. Ah, so you're my system. Wow, how time flies. I completely forgot you existed. Ding! Option 1, officially get engaged to Noera Rin before turning 18. Reward, mystery gift box. Option 2, get married to Noera Rin before turning 18. Reward, mystery gift box X1. Option 3, marry Noera Rin before turning 18 and have a baby Uchiha. Reward, mystery gift box X2. Mystery gift box, a congratulatory gift prepared by the system to celebrate the host's romantic success. Inside are various surprise items. Consider it a little something from me. Obito read the options, his Sharingan tingling with emotion. After cutting down another enemy, he even wiped his eyes. Nearby, Jingtian noticed and thought to himself, the boss is so kind, even shedding tears for the enemy. Obito, on the other hand, was deeply moved. System, you're too good to me. I'm so glad I never forgot about you. Never forgot, huh? Then what was that earlier about forgetting me? Obito scratched his head, looking puzzled. Did I say that? I don't remember at all. Host, maybe we should swap roles. You're not fit to be human. Even though I'm not human, you're definitely worse. Ignoring the system's sarcasm, Obito pondered his choices. Baby Uchiha is out of the question for now, since the rewards for marriage and engagement are the same. *TLL choose engagement for now. That way, I can still throw a grand wedding after becoming the sage of 6 paths perfect. System, I pick option 1. Later, back at Umbu, Obito overheard something intriguing. A delegation from the Land of Lightning is coming to Konoha for an alliance? This doesn't quite match my memories. Chapter 112, I'm getting engaged to Rin. Land of Forests, Shinabazu featured in Chapter 456 of the manga, known for their confrontation with Kakashi and others in the anime. Obito propped his chin on his hand and muttered to himself. If I remember correctly, this should happen next year. The Land of Lightning thinks Konoha is weak and sent a delegation under the guise of peace talks. In reality, they're planning to take advantage of the situation and seize the Hyuga clan's Byakugan. Obito carefully combed through his memories, ensuring there were no discrepancies. So, did my presence cause this event to happen earlier than it should? He mused. Because of his influence, Konoha had avoided the Nine-Tails attack and was now much stronger than the village in the original timeline. Obito speculated silently. Could the Land of Lightning genuinely want to establish peace with the Land of Fire after seeing Konoha's strength? Or, are they just trying to stir up trouble to slow Konoha's progress? He pondered for a while but eventually shrugged it off. Ah, whatever. There are plenty of mysteries in this world that no one can figure out. Like, who decided that the third Hokage was the strongest Hokage? Or, is Kakashi's Chidori direct current or alternating current? And how long could it power a 10W light bulb? Not to mention, what's the rotational speed difference between the center and edge of the Rasengan? And, when does Rin's monthly cycle? Ahem, moving on. Obito shook off his increasingly bizarre thoughts and turned to his companion. By the way, who's in charge of receiving the Land of Lightning's delegation? The ANBU thought for a moment. It should be Fox, from the 4th Hokage's personal team. Obito smirked knowingly. Fox was, of course, a certain silver-haired bookworm with a sharp tongue as code name in the Umbu. Looking at the calendar, Obito muttered. Well, there's still about a month to go. I'll come up with a way to help him out when the time comes. Switching out of his ANBU gear and into his casual clothes, Obito left the underground headquarters. Right now, I've got more important things to think about, like getting engaged. Heh heh heh. Obito sprinted home, excitement bubbling over. The moment he stepped through the door, he shouted, Grandma! I've made up my mind, I am getting engaged to Rinchan. Crash! The sound of breaking glass came from inside the house. Obito's heart skipped a beat. Did I just shock Grandma so much she fainted? Rushing inside, he saw his grandmother grinning ear to ear, and a very flustered Rin standing by her side. Rinchan? What are you doing here? His grandmother chuckled. Rin happened to have the day off and came over to keep me company. But never mind that, did I just hear you say you're planning to get engaged to her? Obito stole a glance at Rin, who was red-faced but nodded shyly. Why yeah. I've been thinking about it. Grandma's eyes practically disappeared in her wide grin. Well then, since Rin's already here, why don't we sit down and plan things together? Obito gulped and nodded reluctantly. Sure, let's do that. Sitting down next to Rin, Obito felt his usual bravado waver. Who knew he'd ever feel this shy? As the conversation turned to their engagement, both Obito and Rin sat quietly, their faces glowing red, while Grandma enthusiastically rattled off a long list of preparations. After nearly 30 minutes of non-stop chatter, Grandma finally paused to sip some water and turned to Obito. All right, the next step is for the two of you to find some time to visit Rin's family. We'll bring gifts and formally discuss the engagement banquet. Obito hesitated. I should be free this Saturday. Rin's voice was barely audible. And me too. Grandma clapped her hands, smiling brightly. Perfect. That gives us just enough time to prepare the gifts. Saturday. Obito, laden with bags full of gifts, arrived at Rin's house with his grandmother. As soon as they knocked, the door swung open, showing they were eagerly awaited. Grandma greeted Rin's mother, Keiko, with a warm smile. You must be Rin's mother. My, you look so young. Keiko quickly came forward to help Grandma. Thank you for the compliment. Please, come in and make yourselves comfortable. She led them to the living room and, with a hint of embarrassment, said, I must apologize for making you come all this way. When Rin mentioned the engagement the other day, I actually scolded her for not informing us sooner. As the elders, it's proper for us to visit you first. Grandma waved her hand dismissively. Oh, nonsense. It's tradition for the man's side to visit the woman's. It shows respect. While the two elders chatted happily, Obito and Rin exchanged helpless glances. Rin, Obito-kun, this is so boring. Obito, Rin-chan, I know, right? Same here. Keiko, meanwhile, was observing Obito with a critical yet approving eye. Good family background, excellent status, undeniable strength. His looks are passable too. Most importantly, his manners were impeccable, no small feat for someone as lively as Obito. By the time Obito snapped out of his daydreams, the elders had already finalized the engagement arrangements. Both families had been supportive of the match for years, so the engagement was just a formality. When the discussion turned to the venue, Obito quickly volunteered. Grandma, Aunt Keiko, leave the venue arrangements to me. I've got a friend with several estates, and I'll ask to borrow one. Keiko's impression of Obito improved even more as she nodded with satisfaction. In truth, Obito was thinking of borrowing one of the Nara clan's properties. Knowing Shikayu, it wouldn't be a problem. That evening, after Obito and Grandma left, Rin sat in her room, her cheeks still burning. Time flies so fast. I'm really about to get married. Over the years, she'd watched Obito grow from a clumsy boy into, well, a slightly less clumsy man. But there was no denying how much he'd matured. She turned to her mother with a sudden question. Mom, how can you tell if a man is a pervert? Keiko paused thoughtfully before answering. See if he's breathing? Rin blinked, then burst into laughter as the meaning sank in. So, Obito-kun must be a little pervert after all. Chapter 113, A Miraculous Reward. On a day when the cherry blossoms were in full bloom, the manor, blanketed with pink petals and lush green grass, resembled a land covered in soft, pink snow. A delicate fragrance lingered in the air, like the gentle embrace of a young Malden. The warm sunlight painted everything with a touch of love and serenity. Amid this picturesque scene, a spiky-haired man stood next to a pineapple-headed guy, holding a soda with a somewhat helpless expression. You really borrowing this single guy's space for your wedding reception? This is shrimp cruelty at its finest. The short-haired man snatched the soda from his friend's hand, took 2 big gulps, and replied casually. Quit whining, Shikayu. Plenty of girls like you. It's not my fault you won't date anyone. The two were none other than Nara Shikayu and today's protagonist, Uchiha Obito. Shikayu lazily scratched the back of his head, yawning as he spoke. Women are such a hassle. I'd rather not deal with them. Obito chugged the rest of the soda and handed the empty cup back to Shikayu. Then why don't you just get yourself a boyfriend already? Shikayu threw the cup into a nearby bin, glaring at Obito. Damn you, Obito! Don't even think about borrowing anything from me ever again. Grinning, Obito threw an arm around Shikayu, rubbing against him dramatically. Ah, Shikayu gidge dash. Ugh, get off me, you weirdo! Ha! Men! Meanwhile, on the other side of the garden, Might Guy was brimming with energy as he challenged Kakashi. Kakashi! Let's duel right now. Kakashi gave him a tired side-eye, clearly not interested. Asuma laughed and patted Guy on the shoulder. Relax, Guy. We're here to celebrate today. You can challenge him after the reception. Guy scratched his head with a sheepish grin. Oops, I got a little too fired up. My youth betrayed me. Ha ha ha. Not far away, a shy girl, barely noticeable in the crowd, was anxiously looking around. I want to sit at the table with the handsome guys. After much hesitation, her face turned bright red as she finally sat down next to Kakashi. Kakashi turned to her, utterly baffled. Who are you? Do I even know you? The girl noticed Kakashi's unwelcoming expression and looked at him with teary eyes. Kakashi-kun, it's me, Ryoko. Kakashi. At the back of the venue, Kurenal Yule held Rin's hands, her face full of admiration. I'm so jealous of you, Rin. To be with someone you've loved since your academy days and now stepping into marriage. It's like a dream come true. Rin's face glowed with happiness as she giggled. Carrot carrot, jealous of what? You have someone like that by your side too, Kurinal. Kurinal's cheeks turned crimson. Hey. What are you talking about, Rin? I don't like Asuma or anything. Rin tilted her head, blinking innocently. What are you talking about, Kurinal? I didn't say anything about Asuma. Embarrassed and flustered, Kurinal smacked Rin lightly, sending her hair fluttering. You little brat. How dare you tease me? Not to be outdone, Rin grabbed Kurinal's arm, pinching her gently, causing her to squeal. Ha! What are you going to do about it? After their playful scuffle, the two girls fixed their outfits and returned to the crowd, looking as graceful as ever. In the main hall, Minato had cleared his schedule of Hokage duties just for this special day. He stood before his two grown-up students, a fond smile on his face. Looking at Obito and Rin, Minato couldn't help but feel nostalgic. In the blink of an eye, 7 or 8 years had passed. The children he had once taught now stood as tall as him, ready to face the world. Taking their hands, Minato placed them together and smiled warmly. Obito, Rin, may you both find happiness together. Both of them replied in unison. Thank you, Minato-sensei. Their hearts were filled with gratitude. Minato had guided them and cared for them over the years. To have the current Hokage personally preside over their engagement ceremony was an honor few could claim. After all, who knew how long Kakashi would stay single? Amid cheers and applause, Obito and Rin exchanged engagement rings, embracing under the falling cherry blossoms. Obito looked at Rin, remembering their academy days. Holding her tightly, he couldn't help but smile. It was love at first sight, and it's you I'll hold for a lifetime. I might not be the most romantic guy, but this is my promise. No matter what storms come our way, I'll carry us through. All you need to do is love me. Later that night, after the reception ended and everything was cleaned up, Obito finally returned home, exhausted. Only then did he remember the mysterious reward he had received earlier. Focusing his thoughts, he entered the system interface and selected the mysterious red envelope. Are you sure you want to use the mystery gift box? Yawning, Obito muttered. Yeah, go ahead. Let's see what kind of trash luck I have. The system chimed. Ding! The mystery gift box has been opened. Congratulations. You have received Lava Release Armor. Congratulations. You have received Youth Preserving Pill X1. Congratulations. You have received Shaping Pill X1. Obito raised an eyebrow, pleasantly surprised. Oh? 3 items? Let's see what I got. He started with the first one. Lava Release Armor, forged from molten lava. This armor is both destructive and protective. Its high-temperature coating can melt anything in its path while resisting Kage-level attacks. Obito's eyes widened. Whoa! This lava chakra mode is insane. Eagerly, he moved to the next item. Youth Preserving Pill, just as the name suggests, consuming this pill grants eternal youth. Huh. Well, this one's definitely for Rinchan. She'll love it, hee hee. Finally, he checked the last item. Shaping Pill, for 30 minutes after consumption, you can freely alter the shape of your body. Afterward, the changes become permanent. Obito blinked, then burst out laughing. Wadash. That's outrageous. But I might just have a brilliant idea, ha ha ha. 5 minutes later, his room echoed with maniacal laughter. Chapter 114, Arrival of the Lightning Country Delegation. Obito had been playing in his room for quite a while. Finally, after tinkering with his appearance using the templates of countless handsome men, he made some subtle adjustments to his facial features. He also, quite sneakily, lengthened something by a few centimeters. When the half-hour timer ended, the changes Obito had made were permanently saved. Staring at the mirror, he admired his reflection, a strikingly handsome man. He was beyond pleased. Heh, Looking like this should make it much easier to blend in, Obito muttered to himself as he climbed into bed. In his mind, he thanked the system. System, thanks for the gift. I really like it. The system replied with a cheerful ding. 2. As long as the host is happy, consider it a small customer loyalty reward. This system is counting on you to help us make big bucks someday. Obito grinned. No problem. Let's work together and reach the peak of life. So, how about another quiz question, system? The system fell silent. Obito waited a long time but got no response. System, buddy? Damn it. Gone silent on me again. So, love really does disappear, huh? That night passed without incident. The next evening, after finishing his duties in the ANBU, Obito found it was already close to midnight. Seizing the quiet of the night, he headed into the forest to test his newly obtained lava release armor. Standing in the clearing, he struck a dramatic pose and, in an overly theatrical manner, growled, "Lava release chakra mode, activate." Blazing magma erupted, forming an armor-like shell that enveloped Obito's entire body. The intense heat distorted the air around him. Obito drew a kunai, intending to test the armor's defensive capabilities. But before he could even throw it, the kunai melted in his hand. Ah, crap. Obito muttered, tossing aside the molten remnants. He turned to a nearby tree and lashed out with a powerful kick. Boom! The tree crashed to the ground, its base charred and brittle. When Obito touched the scorched surface, it crumbled into ash. That kick probably packed at least 20 years' worth of power, Obito mused. He continued experimenting in the forest for a while, testing the limits of the lava release armor. Eventually, he spoke to himself in contemplation. With just this lava release, even without Kamui, I've already reached Kage-level combat power. Lava release was inherently destructive, and combined with Obito's monstrous chakra reserves, it made him a force to be reckoned with. Satisfied, he dismissed the armor. It was then he realized something. Walt, why does it feel so breezy? Looking down, his eyes widened in horror. Damn it! When did it burn my clothes off? Panicking, Obito quickly activated Kamui and vanished into his pocket dimension. Not far away, a green-clad, bowl-cut shinobi stood frozen in place. 007. Might Guy had been doing his nightly training when he heard commotion in the forest. Thinking it might be a fellow enthusiast burning the midnight oil, he decided to investigate. What he saw, however, was a naked man who looked suspiciously like Obito vanishing in the blink of an eye. Was that an illusion? But, the length of that thing. Could that even belong to a human? Shaking his head, Guy forced himself to focus. No, Guy! You must believe in yourself. You are Konoha's green beast. With that pep talk, he bared his trademark dazzling grin. Yosh! Time for another 10,000 push-ups. The weekend arrived. Obito retrieved a youth-preserving pill from the system and happily ran off to find Rin. The two strolled hand in hand through the streets. Rin, Obito said with a mischievous grin. I've got a little something special for you. Want to try? 117. Rin swatted him playfully. Stop teasing, Obito. It hasn't even been that long. Flustered, Obito coughed awkwardly. No, I'm serious this time. He pulled out a small bottle and waved it lightly near her ear. This is a detoxifying beauty pill. They say it works wonders for the skin. Rin's cheeks flushed as she softly punched Obito's chest. You should have just said that from the start, you dummy. Grinning sheepishly, Obito handed her the bottle. My bad dash. After a bit more strolling, Obito walked Rin home. Tomorrow, the delegation from Kumogakure would arrive. Obito planned to wake up early to help Kakashi keep an eye on things. The next morning, Obito woke with a start and checked the time. Crap! Overslept again. He threw on a set of clothes, donned his ANBU mask, and used a transformation jutsu to disguise himself before dashing out. 10 minutes later, he found a fellow ANBU in a narrow alleyway. The other ninja raised an eyebrow. "Hawk, what are you doing here? This matter doesn't concern you." Obito waved it off. "I'm worried those guys from Kumogakure might try something funny, so I came to back up Fox." The member nodded in understanding. Everyone knew Hawk and Fox had a close bond. Kumogakure's delegation is known for being combative. "We've got concerns too," the operative admitted. "We plan to stick to them like glue these next few days to ensure nothing happens." Obito nodded. "Good idea. Let me take a look." The ninja stepped aside, allowing Obito to use the observation point. Activating his Sharingan, Obito scanned the delegation through the gap in the wall. In the group, a young man was casually chatting with his companions. Suddenly, he turned his head sharply, locking eyes with Obito through the gap. "Interesting." Obito pulled back, the corner of his mouth curling into a smirk. For someone to detect his gaze from that distance showed remarkable instincts. Obito's mind raced. The man could simply be a bodyguard for the delegation's leader. But his gut told him otherwise. This man was likely a Kumogakure spy sent to stir up trouble in Konoha. Meanwhile, within the delegation, the young man cursed under his breath. His instincts had betrayed him, drawing unwanted attention. That must have been one of Konoha's ANBU watching us, he thought. But something puzzled him. Those eyes, the Sharingan? Isn't the Uchiha clan at odds with Konoha's leadership? Why would they allow an Uchiha into the ANBU 7-inch? He filed the information away, planning to report back to Kumogakure at the earliest opportunity. As Obito had guessed, the man was indeed a Kumogakure ninja named Aoyama Kenichi. Narrowing his eyes, Kenichi resolved to tread more carefully. "I can't afford to let Raikage-sama down. The Aoyama clan's honor is at stake." Blazing magma erupted, forming an armor-like shell that enveloped Obito's entire body. The intense heat distorted the air around him. Obito drew a kunal, intending to test the armor's defensive capabilities. But before he could even throw it, the kunal melted in his hand. "Ah, crap," Obito muttered, tossing aside the molten remnants. He turned to a nearby tree and lashed out with a powerful kick. Boom! The tree crashed to the ground, its base charred and brittle. When Obito touched the scorched surface, it crumbled into ash. That kick probably packed at least 20 years' worth of power, Obito mused. He continued experimenting in the forest for a while, testing the limits of the lava release armor. Eventually, he spoke to himself in contemplation. With just this lava release, even without Kamui, I've already reached Kage-level combat power. Lava release was inherently destructive, and combined with Obito's monstrous chakra reserves, it made him a force to be reckoned with. Satisfied, he dismissed the armor. It was then he realized something. "Walt, why does it feel so breezy?" Looking down, his eyes widened in horror. "Damn it! When did it burn my clothes off?" Panicking, Obito quickly activated Kamui and vanished into his pocket dimension. Not far away, a green-clad, bowl-cut shinobi stood frozen in place. 007. Might Guy had been doing his nightly training when he heard commotion in the forest. Thinking it might be a fellow enthusiast burning the midnight oil, he decided to investigate. What he saw, however, was a naked man who looked suspiciously like Obito vanishing in the blink of an eye. Was that an illusion? But, the length of that thing. Could that even belong to a human? Shaking his head, Guy forced himself to focus. "No, Guy! You must believe in yourself. You are Konoha's green beast." With that pep talk, he bared his trademark dazzling grin. "Yosh! Time for another 10,000 push-ups." The weekend arrived. Obito retrieved a youth-preserving pill from the system and happily ran off to find Rin. The two strolled hand in hand through the streets. "Rin," Obito said with a mischievous grin. I've got a little something special for you. Want to try? 117. Rin swatted him playfully. Stop teasing, Obito. It hasn't even been that long. Flustered, Obito coughed awkwardly. Ahem, no, I'm serious this time. He pulled out a small bottle and waved it lightly near her ear. This is a detoxifying beauty pill. They say it works wonders for the skin. Rin's cheeks flushed as she softly punched Obito's chest. You should have just said that from the start, you dummy. Grinning sheepishly, Obito handed her the bottle. My bad dash. After a bit more strolling, Obito walked Rin home. Tomorrow, the delegation from Kumogakure would arrive. Obito planned to wake up early to help Kakashi keep an eye on things. The next morning, Obito woke with a start and checked the time. Crap! Overslept again. He threw on a set of clothes, donned his ANBU mask, and used a transformation jutsu to disguise himself before dashing out. 10 minutes later, he found a fellow ANBU in a narrow alleyway. The other ninja raised an eyebrow. Hawk, what are you doing here? This matter doesn't concern you. Obito waved it off. I'm worried those guys from Kumogakure might try something funny, so I came to back up Fox. The member nodded in understanding. Everyone knew Hawk and Fox had a close bond. Kumogakure's delegation is known for being combative. We've got concerns too, the operative admitted. We plan to stick to them like glue these next few days to ensure nothing happens. Obito nodded. Good idea. Let me take a look. The ninja stepped aside, allowing Obito to use the observation point. Activating his Sharingan, Obito scanned the delegation through the gap in the wall. In the group, a young man was casually chatting with his companions. Suddenly, he turned his head sharply, locking eyes with Obito through the gap. Interesting. Obito pulled back, the corner of his mouth curling into a smirk. For someone to detect his gaze from that distance showed remarkable instincts. Obito's mind raced. The man could simply be a bodyguard for the delegation's leader. But his gut told him otherwise. This man was likely a Kumogakure spy sent to stir up trouble in Konoha. Meanwhile, within the delegation, the young man cursed under his breath. His instincts had betrayed him, drawing unwanted attention. That must have been one of Konoha's ANBU watching us, he thought. But something puzzled him. Those eyes, the Sharingan? Isn't the Uchiha clan at odds with Konoha's leadership? Why would they allow an Uchiha into the ANBU 7-inch? He filed the information away, planning to report back to Kumogakure at the earliest opportunity. As Obito had guessed, the man was indeed a Kumogakure ninja named Aoyama Kenichi. Narrowing his eyes, Kenichi resolved to tread more carefully. I can't afford to let Raikage-sama down. The Aoyama clan's honor is at stake. Chapter 115, Midnight Workouts Are My Favorite. The Aoyama clan was a minor family in Kumogakure. Thanks to the promotion by the newly appointed 4th Raikage, they finally earned some standing in the village. As a result, the Aoyama clan was fiercely loyal to the Raikage. With just one command, they would dive into a sea of flames or scale a mountain of blades without hesitation. Aoyama Kenichi walked down the road, recalling the order given to him by the Raikage before his departure. No matter the cost, bring back a pair of Byakugan from the Hyuga's main house for Kumogakure. His fists clenched unconsciously, and his breathing grew heavy. The future of the Aoyama clan depends on my performance this time. Don't worry, Raikage-sama. Even if I have to sacrifice my life, I will bring back a pair of Byakugan for you. He then thought about the Konoha Umbu member he had encountered earlier, shaking his head in regret. If only the Sharingan wasn't so restrictive, and the Uchiha clan weren't so unhinged. The night was serene, the moonlight like frost. Within the inn where the envoy was staying, Aoyama Kenichi changed into a set of dark ninja gear and stealthily moved to the outskirts of the inn. With agile movements, he vaulted towards the outer wall. Just as he leapt, his legs seemed to develop minds of their own. Left leg, let me go first. Let me go first. Right leg, why you? Left leg, fine, then neither of us will go. Right leg, deal. Suddenly, Kenichi's left leg tripped his right, sending him crashing to the ground with a loud thud. Not good, Kenichi thought in alarm. He scrambled to his feet, quickly removing his mask. Before he could make his next move, a Konoha guard appeared. The guard recognized him as one of the envoy members. Honored envoy, what are you doing out here? The guard asked, suspicion flickering in his eyes. Kenichi coughed twice and replied, Ahem, I have a habit of exercising at night. A bit of sweat helps me sleep better. The guard tilted his head thoughtfully. You're quite diligent, aren't you? Even here in Konoha, you brought proper training gear. Kenichi forced an awkward but polite smile. Haha, exercise makes life vibrant, and vibrance makes life beautiful. The guard smirked and nodded. Well, I won't interrupt your training. Please, carry on. Of course, of course. Farewell. After the guard left, Kenichi cursed under his breath. Damn it! What the hell just happened? His botched attempt had undoubtedly raised the guard's suspicion. Sneaking out now would be exponentially harder. With a scowl, Kenichi slinked back to his room at the inn. Half an hour later, Kenichi snuck to the other side of the inn's perimeter. They must be watching the walls closely. I'll do the unexpected use earth release to leave through the ground instead. As long as they're not specifically monitoring chakra underground, the faint traces from earth release shouldn't alert them. Kenichi formed hand seals and dove towards the ground. Earth release, hiding like a mole technique. Thud! A muffled sound echoed as Kenichi's head slammed into the solid concrete. Lying sprawled on the ground, his head buzzing, Kinnick began to question his life choices. As he tried to bury himself underground, his chakra suddenly stalled for a split second, causing him to crash headfirst into the hardened surface. The noise drew the Konoha guard back. Seeing Kenichi sprawled on the ground, the guard chuckled. Honored envoy, still exercising? Your stamina is impressive. It's been half an hour already? Kinnick lay there, dead inside. Yes. Foreign lands, lonely nights. Only exercise can ease my homesickness. The guard was speechless but nodded slowly. At first, he thought Kenichi was up to no good. But the man made so much noise he hadn't actually left, leaving the guard utterly baffled. Well, carry on, honored envoy. I'll leave you to it, the guard said, retreating once more. Back in his room, Kenichi's expression was dark. Kinj, come here, he called. Kinj, his younger cousin, emerged from his room. Seeing Kenichi's disheveled state and wild hair, he asked, Brother, what happened? Kenichi recounted the strange incidents. I suspect the Konoha Umbu I encountered this morning cast some kind of genjutsu on me. As a seasoned ninja, Kenichi had pieced things together. A single mishap could be excused. 2 consecutive failures? Someone was messing with him. Indeed, a mischievous Konoha Umbu had implanted subtle genjutsu triggers in Kenichi during a brief gaze exchange earlier in the day. One ensured he would trip if he tried sneaking out at night. The other caused his chakra to malfunction if he attempted earth release. Kinj's expression turned grim. What do we do, brother? No one in our group specializes in countering genjutsu. Kenichi clenched his teeth. There's only one solution left. Kinj's eyes widened. Brother, you don't mean... Kinnick nodded firmly. Yes, electric therapy. Using intense chakra to stimulate the brain could dispel most genjutsu. Of course, in extreme cases, it might fry the target's mind, permanently. Kenichi placed a hand on Kinji's shoulder. Do it, Kinji. Don't hold back. If you're my brother, zap me. Kinj's eyes glistened with tears. Understood, brother. Forgive me. For Kumogakure. For the Raikage, Kenichi growled. For the glory of Kumogakure. King roared back, channeling lightning release into his brother's head. A cup of tea later, Kenichi emerged from the inn with a head full of frizzled hair. He approached the wall and cautiously leapt. This time, he cleared it with ease. Finally! The Genjutsu is broken, he thought triumphantly as he landed. But before he could celebrate, he turned around only to meet a pair of crimson Sharingan eyes staring right at him. Chapter 116, Obito's Mischievous Plan. Heh, look at this poor guy. A man with crimson eyes smirked mockingly, his Sharingan spinning lazily in his sockets. Before him, Aoyama Kenichi stood frozen, as if his mind had been wiped clean. No need to guess. The sudden appearance of this red-eyed troublemaker could only mean one thing: our morally ambiguous buddy, Obito Uchiha, had arrived. After sensing his Genjutsu unravel, Obito had promptly made his way to the envoy's inn, coincidentally catching Kenichi mid-leap. Poor guy, Obito mused, shaking his head in mock pity. Ran into me, must be skipped checking his horoscope this morning. Having sifted through Kenichi's memories just moments ago, Obito was well aware of the unfortunate series of events that had befallen him tonight. Within seconds, the commotion had drawn the attention of a nearby ANBU ninja. The masked figure approached swiftly, his gaze flicking between the masked Obito and the stupefied Kenichi. "Why are you here? And this envoy, what's going on?" Obito waved dismissively, a grin tugging at his lips. "Big matters. Fetch Fox for me till brief him directly." "Understood?" The ANBU member vanished into the night, leaving Obito alone with Kenichi. Not long after, a silver-haired man stepped out from the shadows, his mask glinting faintly in the moonlight. He approached with a hint of curiosity. "Obito, what's going on?" Shrugging, Obito offered, "It's a bit complicated." "Want me to show you via Genjutsu?" Kakashi hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Obito's Sharingan flared a vivid crimson, pulling Kakashi into a world of illusion. Inside the Genjutsu, Obito's voice echoed. "Worried there might be spies in the envoy, I took some precautions beforehand. Turns out I was right. Here's what I found in this little rat's memories." As Obito's words faded, a series of vivid scenes unfolded before Kakashi. The Raikage's dark, stern face filled the frame, startling Kakashi. Realizing he was seeing the Raikage from Kenichi's perspective, Kakashi steadied himself. The Raikage spoke gravely. "Star. When the time comes, I will bring our army to the border, creating a diversion for you. The land of fire craves peace and won't risk outright conflict with us. While in Konoha, act as needed no matter the cost, bring back a Byakugan from the Hyuga clan for Kumogakure." Kakashi's heart sank. Kumogakure, preparing for war? Before he could process the implications, another memory played out. Kenichi, staring into a mirror, murmured to himself. If I can infiltrate the Hyuga estate and succeed, all the better. If not, I'll die here in Konoha. That way, Raikage-sama will have a reason to demand the Byakugan by force. The Genjutsu ended abruptly, dragging Kakashi back to reality. Obito deactivated his Sharingan and spread his hands casually. "That's the gist of it. Thoughts?" Kakashi's expression was grave. "This is serious. We need to inform Minato-sensei immediately." Glancing at Kenichi, Kakashi added, "We'll bring him along. Minato-sensei can decide how to handle him." Obito nodded. "Got it!" Snapping his fingers, Obito directed Kenichi, now fully under his Genjutsu, to obediently follow. "All right, let's go." Watching Obito's confident stride, Kakashi couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. The Sharingan is so cool. I wish I had one. At Minato's home, Kakashi and Obito sat beside the fourth Hokage, recounting everything Kenichi had revealed. Minato's brows knitted together as he listened. So, the Land of Lightning claimed to want peace, yet harbored such malicious intent all along. Kakashi nodded grimly. Kumogakure likely planned this operation for a long time. Even tonight, one assigned sensory ninja to monitor the envoy, but we didn't detect any suspicious chakra signatures. They must have devised a method to evade our detection. Obito patted Kakashi on the shoulder, offering reassurance. They're hiding under the guise of diplomacy. A few slipping past your senses is understandable. According to Kenichi's memories, four ninjas had infiltrated the envoy, none particularly strong except for Kenichi, who had already been neutralized. Kakashi sighed, nodding reluctantly. Even so, I can't avoid responsibility for this oversight. Minato's calm voice broke through his thoughts. Don't blame yourself, Kakashi. Everyone makes mistakes, that's what allows our comrades opportunities to shine. Obito struck a triumphant pose. Exactly. Now, bow before your savior? You idiot! Kakashi punched Obito lightly, though his mood seemed to improve. Minato smiled faintly before turning serious. Alright, let's focus. There's still a critical issue to resolve. The room fell into thoughtful silence. Kenichi was a ticking time bomb. Mishandling this situation could put Konoha at a severe disadvantage. After a moment, Obito's lips curled into a sly smile. Minato noticed and asked, Obito, you have an idea? Obito chuckled. I do, though it's a bit unpolished. Gesturing to Kenichi, he explained, from what I've seen in his memories, Kumogakure's boldness comes from their belief that Konoha fears war. But in reality, they're not in any shape for an all-out conflict either. It's all a bluff. Minato and Kakashi nodded in agreement. Obito's grin widened. Then let's play along. We can use this to strike back and remind Kumogakure why no one messes with Konoha. Chapter 117, Clash of Two Armies. Obito had been speaking animatedly for quite some time. Blah 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 blah. When he finished, he turned his gaze toward the dumbstruck Minato and Kakashi. Sensei, what do you think of my plan? Minato shut his gaping mouth and began to think it over. Obito's proposal. It's a bit insane, he admitted. But I can't deny, there's a certain logic to it. Turning to Kakashi, he asked, what's your opinion, Kakashi? Kakashi adjusted his forehead protector. If Obito can pull it off, I think it's a sound strategy, he replied calmly. It would definitely serve as a deterrent, keeping Kumogakure from provoking Konoha for years. Minato gave a slight nod before directing a serious look at Obito. Obito, let me ask you, are you truly confident about this? Obito chuckled mischievously. Don't worry, Sensei. I wouldn't suggest it if I didn't think I could do it. With that, he threw an arm around Kakashi. Besides, if things go south, I'll drag this guy along with me. Worst case, it won't be as impressive, but it'll still work. After all, he's already got a solid grasp of the Flying Thunder God technique, and combined with his original lightning release move. What's there to worry about? Minato slowly nodded, his expression resolute. Alright, I'll fully support your plan. We'll set the operation for 3 days from now. 3 days should be enough time for me to mobilize reinforcements to the border. Obito sprang to his feet, excitement radiating from him. Got it! I'll start implementing the commands right away. His gaze shifted to Aoyama Kenichi, the man standing nearby. The Sharingan in his eyes spun as he rewrote the man's consciousness. Done! Night deepened. In the inn where the diplomatic delegation was staying, Aoyama Kenichi paced anxiously. It's been over half an hour. Why hasn't there been any movement from brother? Just then, a shadow slipped silently into the inn and entered Kenji's room. Kenji's eyes lit up as he greeted the figure. Brother! However, when he noticed the man's empty hands, a flicker of doubt crossed his face. Brother, you, 7. Kenichi shook his head. The Hyuga estate's defenses are too tight. I couldn't find an opening. Kenji's face fell, disappointment written all over him. Then, what should we do now? Kenichi laughed heartily, clapping his younger cousin on the shoulder. Don't worry, I didn't come back empty-handed. I've mapped out the estate's general defenses. We just need to wait a few days. Once Konoha lets its guard down, I'll strike. Kenji's face brightened at the news. That's great, brother. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. That evening, Kenichi summoned Kenji to his room. His face was solemn as he gave his cousin one final instruction. If I'm not back by the hour of the ox, contact Raikage-sama immediately. Do you understand? Kenji's eyes reddened slightly, and he nodded firmly. I understand, brother. Kennick smiled approvingly, giving Kenji's shoulder a reassuring pat. Then he donned his night garb and disappeared into the ground. Left alone, Kenji fidgeted nervously in his room, his gaze darting to the clock every few minutes. As the hands crept closer to 3 o'clock, his heart sank. The hour of the ox, 1 to 3 a.m., had come and gone, yet there was no sign of Kenichi. Kenji bowed deeply in the direction his cousin had departed. Brother, your sacrifice is noble. To share the same lineage as you, Aoyama Kenichi, is my greatest honor. Without further hesitation, King left his room and began contacting the Raikage through a special channel. Northeastern Fire Country, just beyond the border. In a concealed command tent, a muscular man with bronze skin and blonde hair read over a freshly delivered classified report. He wore a white cloak and heavy armor on his waist and forearms. This was the 4th Raikage, the current leader of Kumogakure. After finishing the report, I muttered thoughtfully. That Aoyama Kenichi is a clever one. He knew I needed an excuse to act, so he risked his life to give me one. Very well. Once this is over, I'll make sure to properly compensate the Aoyama clan. Setting the report aside, he looked to the white-haired man standing nearby. Daryl, give the order. Mobilize the army. Daryl nodded and left the tent. Understood, Raikage-sama. Moments later, nearly 10,000 Kumogakure shinobi abandoned their supply lines and began marching en masse toward the Fire Country border. As dawn broke, the silver light of morning gradually gave way to a crimson glow. When Kumogakure's forces reached the Fire Country border, they were met with an unexpected sight. On the other side, nearly 10,000 Konoha shinobi stood ready, weapons in hand, their formation disciplined and imposing. The Raikage frowned at the sight. What's going on? How did Konoha respond so quickly? And with a force of this magnitude? Could they actually intend to clash head-on with Kumogakure? The Raikage turned and selected a few squads. You, come with me. Let's see what Konoha has to say for themselves. Accompanied by a dozen shinobi, the Raikage crossed the border to confront Konoha's army. From the Konoha ranks, Obito raised an eyebrow. Not bad, Raikage. Pretty bold of him to come strolling in like this. Doesn't he worry we might just take him out right here? Beside him, Kakashi rolled his eyes. He's a Kage, Obito. You think his army's just for show? He's not afraid of us making a move. Obito shrugged with a sly grin. Even so, we can't let him outshine us. Wanna go greet him together? Kakashi's excitement was barely concealed. Let's do it. The two stepped out of their ranks and approached the Raikage, unaccompanied. When they stopped a few paces away, both sides began sizing each other up. The Raikage's eyes narrowed as he scrutinized the two youths. Who are these brash kids? He glanced at the group behind him, then back at the two standing before him. His face darkened. These two dared to approach without backup, while he, Akage, had brought bodyguards? This was a blatant slap to his face. Humiliated, the Raikage unleashed a terrifying aura, his presence rolling over the pair like a tidal wave. Yet the two stood firm, their expressions unchanging. This only deepened the Raikage's frustration. Chapter 118, Provoking the Raikage. The Raikage's face darkened, his expression as thunderous as a storm cloud. His already dark complexion seemed almost pitch black with fury. With an irate roar, he bellowed at the two before him. You brats! State your names! Obito puffed out his chest, brimming with smugness, and declared. I am Uchiha Obito, apprentice of the 4th Hokage and future successor to the Hokage title. He then gestured at Kakashi beside him, adding nonchalantly. This is my junior. No need for further introductions. Kakashi rolled his eyes, clearly uninterested in humoring Obito's antics. Apprentice of the 4th Hokage? Future Hokage's successor? The Raikage scrutinized Obito skeptically. This kid looks more like a street punk than anything remotely Hokage-like. Does he have even an ounce of the dignity of a successor? Darrow leaned in to whisper by the Raikage's ear. Raikage-sama, if I recall correctly, both of them are indeed disciples of the 4th Hokage. The silver-haired one, Hatake Kakashi, is known as the Silver Flash, a celebrated Konoha elite. By all accounts, his standing in Konoha seems to be much higher than the other one. The Raikage gave a nod of realization. Shifting his focus from Obito, he turned to Kakashi and said, "The Land of Lightning seeks peace. We sent emissaries to Konoha to negotiate. Yet Konoha dared commit such an atrocity against our representatives. If Konoha does not provide a satisfactory explanation today, one, the Raikage, will personally march on your village to demand justice for our people." His voice boomed across the battlefield, amplified with chakra, resonating like a low-pitched gong. The Raikage was adamant that Aoyama Kenichi had perished in Konoha. Now, standing before the armies of both sides, he sought to twist the situation, asserting a fabricated narrative to justify Kumogakure's actions. How does the old man know this? What's it to you? Obito was livid. This old geezer Raikage. When he spoke, he had the audacity to ignore Obito and direct his words at Kakashi instead. Obito's chakra surged as he shouted with a voice like a megaphone. An atrocity? Konoha committed an atrocity against your emissaries? Do you even know what your so-called emissaries did in Konoha? The Raikage frowned, glancing at Darrow. Didn't he say that Kakashi was the more significant figure? Then why was the silver-haired one silent, acting like a sidekick, while this loudmouth kept running his mouth? The Raikage replied in a stern voice. Unarmed emissaries, what could they possibly have done in Konoha? This is nothing but an excuse from your village. If Konoha wishes to instigate conflict, Kumogakure will gladly oblige. Obito sneered. Unarmed emissaries? Your so-called emissaries included 4 suspiciously powerful shinobi. One of them, Aoyama Kenichi, took advantage of the darkness to attempt an assassination on our Hokage. He was captured on the spot and confessed to acting on your orders, Raikage-sama. How do you explain that? The Raikage's expression shifted. Captured? Aoyama Kenichi was captured alive? Damn it! That incompetent fool. What was supposed to be his excuse for war had now backfired, becoming Konoha's evidence of Kumogakure's misconduct. The Raikage burned with fury but managed to suppress it, retorting sharply. Aoyama Kenichi? I've never even heard of him. This is nothing more than hearsay from Konoha. If you wish to frame us, you'll find no shortage of excuses? Obito's tone grew impassioned, his voice brimming with righteous indignation. Hearsay? Frame you? My master is gravely injured and still recovering in the hospital. And you call this hearsay? A baseless accusation? The Raikage was so taken aback he almost laughed. What the hell? Aoyama Kenichi injured Namake's Minato? The man couldn't even touch the 4th Hokage's shadow, let alone harm him. This had to be the most egregious slander Minato had ever endured, and it was coming from his own disciple, no less. The Raikage lowered his chakra-enhanced voice, speaking only to Obito. Kid, if you're going to make something up, at least put a little more effort into it. Obito smirked mischievously. Oh, Raikage-sama, you and I both know the truth of the matter. How does it feel to have the tables turned? The Raikage snorted, caught in an awkward position. Initially, he had intended to use this as leverage to pressure Konoha into surrendering the Byakugan. But now, Konoha had the moral high ground, and starting a war seemed ill-advised. If Kumogakure retreated now after marching all this way, it would be a humiliating blow to their reputation. Yet the Raikage was no mindless brute. He managed to rein in his anger and asked, What does Konoha propose? Obito spread his hands nonchalantly. Well, since it was Kumogakure that started this mess, you'd best come up with a way to settle it. Then, With a wicked grin, Obito amplified his voice once more, shouting to the entire battlefield with theatrical flair. As the Hokage's most beloved disciple, one, Uchiha Obito, will avenge my master. I challenge you, Raikage. Do you dare face me in single combat? The Raikage's simmering fury flared once again. A brat like this, challenging him? Who gave him the gall? Six-Path Sage himself. The Raikage's eyes gleamed dangerously as he rolled up his sleeves, ready to crush this insolent fool. Daryl held him back, whispering urgently, Raikage-sama, this smells like a trap. For these two to stride into the middle of the battlefield and provoke you like this, there must be something they're relying on. Would the Hokage's disciples really be fools? The Raikage reluctantly calmed down. Obito, noticing the Raikage's hesitation, grew anxious. What? The brute isn't charging in head first? Since when do you think before acting? I need to provoke him further. Clearing his throat, Obito sneered mockingly. Raikage-sama, I thought a Kage would possess unparalleled courage and strength, capable of swallowing mountains and rivers with his ambition. But look at you, an old coward with nothing but empty bluster. You bark loudly before your army but cower before a mere junior's challenge. How disappointing. Just an overrated fraud hiding behind his reputation. The Raikage's entire body trembled with rage, his hair standing on end. You little punk. Say that again. Obito chuckled. He's mad. He's mad. Chapter 119, Facing the Raikage. Kakashi shuddered involuntarily. Obito's mouth really is lethal, he thought, glancing at his teammate. Aren't you worried the Raikage's going to beat you to a pulp in a moment? Kakashi wanted to ask. But as he looked at Obito's bright, almost gleeful smile, he realized something unsettling. Obito didn't seem worried at all. In fact, he looked like he was thoroughly enjoying this. Obito's taunts had done their job. Not only was the Raikage visibly enraged, but the entire Kumogakure army behind him was buzzing with fury. This brat is unbelievably arrogant. Raikage-sama, crush his skull already. Knock his head off and see if he can still spout nonsense. The soldiers roared in unison, their hostility almost palpable. Daryl, standing quietly to the side, stepped aside without a word. He knew this was inevitable. If the Raikage didn't respond to such blatant provocation, it wouldn't just tarnish his reputation, it'd make the entire Hidden Cloud look like cowards. With a growl, the Raikage shrugged off his cloak and tossed it aside. His massive fist, as large as a cooking pot, clenched tightly as he approached Obito with a menacing grin. Heh, Uchiha Obito, was it? You want to fight me? Fine. I'll grant your wish. Obito bounced on the balls of his feet, his excitement barely contained. His entire demeanor screamed anticipation. All right, he exclaimed, his blood surging with adrenaline. Fighting an enemy commander amidst an army. This thrill was something he could never have experienced in his past life. His Sharingan spun, pupils narrowing as he locked onto the Raikage, who was now charging at him like a thunderstorm. Obito smirked and beckoned with a finger. Come at me! The Raikage didn't need another invitation. In a flash, he disappeared and reappeared right next to Obito. Take this? A massive, lightning-cloaked hand came crashing down, the air vibrating with power. Obito's Sharingan barely caught the afterimage. Fast, he thought, feeling a chill run down his spine. The Raikage's speed was overwhelming, far beyond what he anticipated. Without hesitation, Obito activated his trump card. Lava Release, Chakra Mode. Molten chakra erupted from his body, forming an armor of blazing magma that encased him in an instant. Boom! The impact reverberated through the battlefield. The Raikage remained unmoved, but Obito staggered back 2 steps, shaking out his arm and grimacing. Damn! That hurt? Obito hissed. The Raikage raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. He actually took that hit head on? The molten armor coating Obito glimmered menacingly. If not for the Raikage reinforcing his hand with chakra, he might have been seriously burned. After a moment of silence, the Raikage smirked coldly. Impressive. Developing your Kekkle Jankle to this level is no small feat, kid. But if you think that's enough to challenge me, you're sorely mistaken. Electricity surged around him, the very air vibrating with his power. His hair stood on end as lightning danced across his body, forming a visible, armor-like shroud. Daryl, observing from the sidelines, murmured under his breath, he's going into his strongest mode. This kid really isn't ordinary. As the Raikage transformed into a living storm, Obito's mind raced. This was the lightning release chakra mode, a technique unique to the Raikage. In this state, his speed rivaled that of Minato Sensei himself, fast enough to surpass the limits of the Sharingan's tracking. Combining that speed with his monstrous taijutsu, he can crush anything in his path, but that doesn't include me. Obito murmured, grinning. He had a goal for this battle, to match the Raikage without using Camel or Wood Release. Lava Release alone had to be enough for a draw. Before he could continue strategizing, the Raikage vanished again. What? A fierce gust swept down from above. Guillotine drop. Obito barely had time to glance up before the Raikage's leg, crackling with lightning, descended like a bolt from the heavens. Oh, crap! Obito raised both arms, hastily reinforcing his magma armor. Boom! Layer after layer of the armor shattered under the impact, forcing Obito deep into the ground. The Raikage didn't relent, leaping back into the air to deliver another devastating blow. Obito yelped, "Oh, hell no!" With a burst of desperation, he spat out a torrent of molten lava. Asterisk lava release, eruption blast. The blazing stream surged upward, forcing the Raikage to retreat. His expression darkened as he landed. This brat is like a human volcano? Obito scrambled out of the crater, quickly spewing more lava to keep the Raikage at bay. Lava release, molten river. Asterisk lava release, inferno surge. Obito's antics were both chaotic and relentless, his molten attacks spreading across the battlefield like wildfire. Kakashi, watching from a safe distance, was dumbfounded. How much chakra does he even have? Despite the Raikage's taunts about his chakra reserves, Obito showed no signs of running out. He grinned mischievously and shouted, "You don't get it, do you? My chakra reserves are way beyond your imagination." The Raikage growled, his patience wearing thin. With a ferocious yell, he charged again. "Let's see how long you can keep this up, brat." Chapter 120, The Dawn of a New Era. The Raikage let out a low growl. Lightning release chakra surged violently through his body, stimulating every muscle fiber. The Raikage moved like a streak of blue lightning, cutting through the raging sea of flames with sheer force of chakra, carving out a path amidst the inferno. Nanny? Obito barely caught sight of a blinding blue flash before he was sent flying. Ah! That hurts like hell. The Raikage's hand strike nearly shattered his ribs. If not for the lava release armor and his second stage Hashirama cells, he'd likely be done for. Kakashi rushed over, concern etched across his face. "Obito, are you okay?" Obito coughed up blood but waved him off, grinning. Asterisk cough. "Just help me up. I can still take on 10 more of him." Kakashi. "Of course. If he's still cracking jokes, he's fine." The Raikage glanced at Obito, who was staggering to his feet. Cracking his knuckles, he sneered. "Youngsters these days. You ought to show some respect for your elders." Obito wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and grinned. "What's the point of being young if you're not brash? Let's go another round." Still mouthing off? The Raikage's voice turned cold. "If you're so eager to die, I'll gladly oblige." Swish! The Raikage moved in earnest, his speed nearly impossible to follow. In an instant, he was beside Obito again, landing another powerful blow. Ah, come on. Obito barely had time to register his surroundings before he found himself airborne once more. Even more terrifying, the Raikage followed him midair, aiming to deliver a punishing kick. No way. At this rate, he's going to beat me to death. Time to play a trump card. Obito closed his eyes, then reopened them, revealing golden red irises with 3 tomos spinning around a single vertical line. The Raikage paused, visibly startled. This brat's aura. It's completely changed. Those Earl eyes, combined with the orange markings now adorning his face. Even as his mind wandered, the Raikage didn't hesitate in his attack. Lightning release. Obito crossed his arms and roared. Asterisk lava release, super shield. Lava chakra surged forth, forming a shield in front of him. The Raikage's kick shattered the shield, but it allowed Obito to evade with a nimble landing. The Raikage narrowed his eyes. What's going on? This kid's lava release and reflexes. How have they improved so drastically? Could it be? Staring at Obito's face, the Raikage murmured in shock, Sage Mode? Obito smirked. Asterisk as expected of the Raikage, sharp as ever. That's right, Sage Mode. For a moment, the Raikage found himself at a loss. This brat, so young, yet already. Humph. Taking a deep breath, the Raikage's expression grew uncharacteristically serious. Only now did he start treating Obito as a true equal. With a swift punch, the Raikage shouted. Lightning release, lightning striker. Lightning-infused chakra surged like a roaring river, threatening to drown Obito. But Obito remained unfazed. Lava release, twin lances. He wielded 2 molten spears, thrusting them at the Raikage. The spears clashed against the Raikage's iron-like arms, sparks flying in all directions. The 2 exchanged blows at lightning speed, trading over a dozen moves in mere moments. Despite the Raikage's impenetrable lightning release armor, the sheer pain of every strike was beginning to wear on him. Damn brat. With Sage Mode amplifying his abilities, Obito's ninjutsu and taijutsu had taken a qualitative leap forward. He could match the Raikage's speed and even deal painful, searing blows with his lava release. Lightning release, thunder bomb. Asterisk lava release, blazing egg roast. Lightning release, lightning destruction. Asterisk lava release, flary monkey smash. I swear to dash. Ah. After another exchange of techniques, they remained evenly matched. The Raikage's expression turned complicated, his thoughts racing. Konoha's depth is frightening. For a single member of their new generation to hold their own against me. A bitter realization crept in, continuing this fight would only benefit Onokul, that old schemer. But, maybe this kid's Sage Mode won't last long. If I can outlast him, I'll reclaim my honor. However, he was doomed to disappointment. Obito's perfect Sage Mode, combined with his vast chakra reserves, allowed him to maintain it for as long as he pleased. Obito, I can do this all day. Even as the battle raged on, Obito's mind was calculating. If I catch him off guard with Camel, I might actually take him out here. But that would reveal too much. And killing the Raikage would guarantee a war between Kumogakure and Konoha, something I can't afford right now. Lightning release, false darkness. Lava release, molten surge. The 2 clashed once more, still at a stalemate. Finally, the Raikage lowered his fists. Despite their lengthy battle, Obito showed no signs of fatigue. It was pointless to continue. From a certain perspective, he'd already lost. Glaring at the grinning Obito, the Raikage growled. Brat, I couldn't defeat you. Is this the outcome you wanted? Obito nodded cheerfully. As expected of the Raikage. You're a smart man, you know exactly what I was aiming for. The Raikage stared at him, his expression dark. The fact that Minato has you as a student. It's clear Konoha's future is in capable hands. He paused before making a surprising declaration. 10 years. For the next 10 years, the Land of Lightning will not make an enemy of the Land of Fire. Obito, satisfied, didn't press his luck. Good. I trust the Raikage's word, and I'm sure Sensei will too. The Raikage waved over his subordinate. Escort this brat back to Konoha and deliver my words to their Hokage. Reluctantly, the subordinate moved to Obito's side. Asterisk. Yes, Raikage-sama. As the Raikage and his forces departed, Daryl couldn't hold back. Boss, are we really just going to? The Raikage turned to his men, a faint smile on his lips. The moment Konoha saw through our plans, this mission was destined to fail. But don't think we've come out empty-handed. We've glimpsed one of Konoha's hidden cards, allowing us to adjust our strategy. That alone makes this trip worthwhile. Daryl hesitated. But you, 7-inch. The Raikage ruffled Daryl's hair with a chuckle. Ah, your boss lost to a kid today. Guess my pride's taken a hit. His gaze grew distant. I have a feeling, us old-timers don't have much time left. The future belongs to your generation now. Turning to his men, his tone grew serious. So, I'm counting on all of you. Will you avenge your boss? Daryl and the others nodded firmly, yes. That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 7. Peace.